Welcome to Infinite Novel Audio. Like, subscribe, and enjoy this video. Chapter 1 Trading System Douluo Continent, southwest of Tiandu Empire, Fasino Province, Holy Soul Village. A little boy in plain cloth was lying on a rock with a blue-silver grass in his mouth, looking at the sky full of stars motionless. 6 years, the boy chuckled lightly, saying that things are impermanent, but who would have thought that he, a good young man who thrived under the light of his motherland, would one day be able to travel through time in a novel. It is also known as the Douluo Continent, known as Fantasy Floor Tiles. The boy's name is Yin Hao. As a good young man in the 21st century, his parents died when he was young, leaving him only hundreds of millions of assets and 5 houses. It can be said that he was born on the finish line from the moment he was born. He did not have to worry about his future, work, money, and other things. Because of this, Yin Hao, who usually had good food and clothing, lost his goal. On weekdays, he either reads novels or plays basketball. Life is extremely boring. After more than 20 years like this, Yin Hao, who grew up, resolutely embarked on an adventure journey, commonly known as death, in order to get rid of the boring atmosphere in life. During a suicide attempt, or not an adventure, Yin Hao jumped out of the plane and suddenly discovered a problem. The parachute was stuck and could not be opened, but is there any need to panic? Who skydives with only one parachute? Yin Hao didn't feel panic at all about such a small problem, and even wanted to laugh a little. But just when he was calmly preparing to open the backup parachute, he sadly discovered that the TM backup parachute was also stuck. In this way, after Yin Hao cursed the unscrupulous parachute manufacturer countless times, he ended his life gloriously. When he opened his eyes again, he had already come to the world of Douluo Dalu and turned into a baby adopted by old Jack. However, it should be said that although he is not his biological child, there is still nothing to say about old Jack's treatment of Yin Hao. Basically, he dotes on him as much as he can. This also made Yin Hao, who had not felt much family affection in his previous life, feel it for the first time: the taste of home. As a time traveler, the first thing Yin Hao did after running away was to drag old Jack around. Of course, this was also for a purpose, just to see how old Tang San was this year, so as to understand the timeline, the problem. After wandering around for a few days, Yin Hao also successfully met Tang San, who was as old as him. This was good news. After all, if he had already become a god when he first came to Tang San, how could he still be playing tricks? At the moment he saw Tang San, a voice sounded in Yin Hao's mind. Congratulations to the host for meeting the Son of Destiny in Douluo World. The trading system is being bound. 10%, 50%, 100%. The binding was successful. Hearing this voice, Yin Hao stopped talking to Tang San and immediately shouted in his mind, "Is the system there?" Fortunately, the system responded immediately: the present host. After receiving the reply, Yin Hao instantly became excited. The standard equipment for the Traverser system. "Young master, I am indeed the protagonist, ha ga ga." He smiled brightly, but old Jack beside him was dumbfounded and thought to himself, there can't be anything wrong with this kid's brain, right? Seemingly noticing old Jack beside him, Yin Hao quickly put away his smile, pretended as if nothing had happened, and continued to ask in his mind, "System, what is your main function?" The main function of this system is trading. As long as the host gives him the items that others need, he can randomly obtain an item from the other party without the other party's consent, which can be blood, soul power, and favorability. Note: 1. The trading partner cannot be too different from the host in terms of strength, otherwise the transaction will be invalid. 2. The items sent must be what the other party needs. If the other party does not need it, the transaction will still be invalid even if the other party accepts it. 3. The transaction partner needs to be an important character in this world. In addition, the system also comes with a system malfunction, which can be used by the host to purchase items. Yin Hao became interested and asked, "What's in the system mal? What do I need to redeem?" The exchange currency of the system mal is gold soul coins, and there are all kinds of items, including not only items from this world, but also items from other worlds. Hearing this, Yin Hao nodded with satisfaction. However, when he saw the main functions, Yin Hao frowned slightly and expressed his concerns. In a transaction, you can get the other party's things without the other party's consent, but after the other party loses the things, you will definitely find out, also get nothing. Then you're just kidding. Is there any other way? The host can also choose not to receive it temporarily after the transaction is completed, and then receive it in batches within a period of time. For example, if the host obtains the opponent's first-level soul power through the transaction, it can be divided into several times to receive the opponent's soul power, so that the opponent's soul power will slowly decrease, to reduce the probability of detection. The corners of Yin Hao's lips raised again unconsciously. In his previous life, he had hated the double-standard and insidious Tang San. He clearly destroyed the Wuhan Palace for his own personal vendetta, and cut off countless ordinary people's opportunities to stand out, put it on the head of Wuhandian. Not only that, but also because he destroyed the killing capital, which led to the rampant evil Soul Masters 10,000 years later, but he didn't care about it. acting like it had nothing to do with him. It was really disgusting. And because of some personal reasons, it is absolutely impossible for Yin Hao to become friends with Tang San or even enemies. As for why, we will talk about it later. After withdrawing his thoughts, Yin Hao stood up from the stone and walked home. Back home, old Jack was cooking, and Yin Hao shouted to him, "Grandpa, I'm back." Old Jack turned his head, and when he saw Yin Hao, a smile appeared on his face instantly. "Xiaohao is back. Grandpa is cooking. It will be ready soon." Old Jack also likes this obedient grandson who never bothers him since he was a child and is very polite. In addition, he has lived with him for 6 years. Although he is not his own, it is better than his own. "Well, by the way, Grandpa, I want to send some rice to Xiaohson's family. Otherwise, I'm worried that they won't even have enough to eat." Old Jack seems to have expected it. After all, Yin Hao has done this kind of thing not once or twice. In the past 2 years, he has been going there almost every few days, sometimes for rice and sometimes for meat. But he didn't stop him. On the contrary, he very much supported Yin Hao's loving behavior. Of course, he didn't know that Yin Hao was systematic, and he didn't know that every time Yin Hao went to deliver something, he could get some good things from Tang San. After getting old Jack's permission, Yin Hao picked up a bag, dug out a few spoonfuls of rice from the rice vat and put it into the bag. It wasn't much, probably enough for Tang Hao and Tang San to eat for 2 or 3 days. Then he took the bag and walked towards the only blacksmith shop in the village. "We the common people are so happy today." Humming a song, he walked on the road, and after a while he came to the door of the blacksmith shop. Upon entering, there was no one inside. According to Yin Hao's guess, Tang Hao should be sleeping in the room at this time, while Tang San should be cooking in the kitchen. Yin Hao carried the bag and walked straight to the kitchen. Sure enough, as soon as he entered, he saw an ordinary-looking child wearing blue patchwork clothes, standing in front of the pot and cooking seriously. Who else could it be if he wasn't Tang San? Although Tang San was still young at this time, years of practicing Xuanchen Kung still made his hearing several times more sensitive than ordinary people. As soon as Yin Hao walked to the door, he sensed it. This is also the meaning of Yin Hao not hiding his figure, otherwise with his current strength, he would be much higher than Tang San, let alone be perceived by Tang San. Yin Hao pushed the door in with the bag in hand and handed the bag in his hand to Tang San. "Xiaohao-san, are you running out of rice again? I'm here to bring you rice." Tang San stood up, took the rice, and said with a smile, "Thank you, Brother Hao. The food will be cooked soon. Please stay here and eat some together." Yin Hao waved his hand. "No, Grandpa has already cooked at my house. I just came to deliver some rice to you. Now that the rice has been delivered, it's time for me to go back." At the same time, a voice came out of Yin Hao's mind. "Congratulations to the host for trading 4 catties of rice to get 1% of Tang San's Blue-Silver Emperor bloodline. Do you want to receive it? Don't take it yet." Chapter 2 Martial Soul Awakening. Seeing that Yin Hao didn't want to stay for dinner, Tang San didn't continue to persuade him. It was originally a polite sentence, and it would be bad to be too serious. After sending Yin Hao out the door, he turned around and went back to continue cooking. Although Yin Hao has been sending rice and other things to Tang San and his family these few years, Tang San, as a beneficiary, has not had any substantive thanks. In fact, this is also normal. In the original book, old Jack treated him so well, and it is not likely that he will repay old Jack in the future, let alone Yin Hao in this life. Not ideal, right? Yin Hao sneered, found a corner where no one was around, and said to the system, "System, receive rewards." Successfully received the reward. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 1% of the Blue-Silver Emperor bloodline. The current concentration is 35%. At the same time, Tang San, who was still standing in front of the pot cooking, panicked slightly, then frowned, feeling that he seemed to have lost something, and after looking around, he felt that there was nothing. "It feels like it's only for a moment, and I don't care about it anymore." Back to the screen of Yin Hao. Yin Hao said silently in his heart, "Open the system panel." The system panel is open. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. Host, Yin Hao. Martial Soul, Unawakened Soul Power. Level Soul Ring, none Soul Bone, none Bloodline. Blue-Silver Emperor Bloodline 35% can be awakened. Assets. Golden Soul Coin 3, Silver Soul Coin 5. It's not without reward to always send things to Tang San and his family these few years. At least he got himself an innate full soul power. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't break through the 11th level without a soul ring, his soul power would be even higher now. As for the bloodline of the Blue-Silver Emperor, 35% is actually not too low. According to Yin Hao's estimation, although Tang San's appearance changed drastically after awakening the bloodline in the original book, he is still human in essence, and the human bloodline must definitely dominate. At least it was also 51%, and Tang San after awakening, the Blue-Silver Emperor bloodline should be 49% at most. What is the awakening of the system? The host's bloodline of the Blue-Silver Emperor has reached 35%, which meets the awakening standard. As long as the martial soul is awakened, it can be awakened automatically. Awaken the bloodline. Will Tang Hao be surprised when he sees me? It's really interesting. As Yin Hao thought about it, the corners of his mouth curled up unconsciously, and he got up and walked towards home. Back home, old Jack had already prepared a meal, but he was still waiting for Yin Hao to come back to eat together. Seeing this scene, Yin Hao's heart warmed up and he called out, "Grandpa, I'm back." Old Jack raised his head and smiled when he saw Yin Hao, who had returned. "Are you back? Come to Zairohao. Grandpa made your favorite braised pork ribs today. Try it quickly." Ah, Yin Hao also laughed. He lived in these 3 small houses for 6 years. Although it was not as good as the fine clothes and luxury villas in his previous life, Yin Hao felt the family affection he had never had before. "By the way, Zairohao, the martial soul will be awakened in 3 days. How do you feel?" Yin Hao put down his chopsticks and smiled lightly. "Don't worry, Grandpa, I will definitely awaken a good martial soul and I will take you there to enjoy the blessing." "Ha ha ha, okay, Grandpa is waiting." Old Jack touched Yin Hao's little head and laughed. Who wouldn't like such a sensible grandson? When he was full, old Jack was going to go to the homes of the villagers with 6-year-old children to tell them about the awakening of the Wuhan, just like the original book. Although he knew that he might be angry with Tang Hao, Yin Hao still didn't stop it, and he had no reason to stop it. This is his job as the village chief every year. Sure enough, about an hour later, old Jack came back from the outside with a full face, cursing as he walked. "Tang Hao, it doesn't matter if he is a waste, but he still wants to delay mistress. Is he still worthy of being a father?" Hearing this, Yin Hao was somewhat speechless. If your old man knew that the person you scolded was a titled Douluo, wouldn't he be frightened? Probably because he noticed Yin Hao was in the room. Old Jack put away his angry expression and put on a smiling face instead. "Zairohao, it's time to go to bed." "Okay." 3 days passed in a flash, and under the leadership of old Jack, Yin Hao came to the Wuhan temple in the center of the village. Yin Hao was the second to last to arrive, and Tang San was the first to last, but the difference was that Tang San came by himself, without Tang Hao's company. This made old Jack blow his beard and stare for a while. Besides Tang San and Yin Hao, there were 7 children standing in front of them, both boys and girls, all about 6 years old. They should be the other children preparing to awaken their spirits this time. In front of all the children stood a young man who looked to be in his 20s, with sword eyebrows and star eyes and a very handsome appearance. He was dressed in a white outfit with a black cloak on the back, and in the center of his chest there was a fist-sized word, Hun. This is the standard attire for the personnel directly under Wuhandian. On the left chest, there is a badge engraved with a long sword. There are a total of 3 long swords interlaced on the badge. Who else could it be if it wasn't Su Yuntao? The corner of Yin Hao's mouth raised slightly unconsciously, the legendary blind Douluo, the No. Poisonous milk, the traitor of the Wuhan temple, the guide of God, Master Su Yuntao. If the master is to add a mouthful of poisonous milk, then the guarantee will be a god king in the future. "High respected master of battle soul, I will trouble you this time." Old Jack saluted Brother Tao respectfully. There was a hint of pride in Su Yuntao's brows, and he bowed slightly indifferently as a return of the courtesy. "I don't have much time, let's start now." Old Jack said, "Okay." "Children, this is the battle spirit master from Notting City. Next, he will lead you to activate your own martial spirit. You must cooperate with the master to awaken the martial spirit. Grandpa looks forward to it means that some of you can become soul masters." The young man said impatiently, "Okay, you said the same thing last year. Is it really that easy to become a soul master? I've already walked through 6 villages, and I don't have anyone with soul power. There is no suitable one." Martial soul, old Jack smiled awkwardly with a sad expression on his face, sighed and said, "Yes, only the inheritors of the major sects are the easiest to become soul masters. It is too difficult for us ordinary people." He shook his head. He walked out of the Wuhan hall. Su Yuntao didn't pay any attention to old Jack, and old Jack tactfully withdrew from the hall of spirits. "The children stand in a row and come one by one," Su Yuntao said softly. 9 children, including Yin Hao, stood in a row. Tang San was last. Yin Hao was second to last. After Yin Hao and Tang San greeted each other, they ignored each other and turned to focus on Su Yuntao's movements ahead. Su Yuntao smiled and said, "My name is Su Yuntao, a level 26 soul master, and I am your guide. Now I will awaken your martial souls one by one. Remember, no matter what happens, don't be afraid." Chapter 3:2 Blue Silver Grasses. Then Su Yuntao took out the props of the awakening Wuhan temple in the original book, 6 black round stones and a shiny blue crystal ball, and arranged the 6 stones into the shape of a hexagram. Immediately afterwards, he pulled the first child to the middle of the 6-pointed star and said, "Don't be afraid, close your eyes and feel it carefully." Then he snorted, "Lone wolf, possessed," immediately after the legendary Urha. No, the lone wolf martial soul instantly wrapped Su Yuntao's body. The child standing at the front was so frightened that he screamed, and the other children were also frightened. Only Yin Hao and Tang San, standing at the back, did not show any signs of fear, which made Su Yuntao a little scared. Watch with admiration, but that's all. After paying attention, he stopped looking at the 2 of them and turned to the frightened child in the 6-pointed star array. "Son, hold out your right hand." The boy nodded and opened his right hand. After a flash of light, a scythe appeared in the boy's hand. Not surprisingly, it was his Wuhan. Su Yuntao frowned. It's a martial soul. Can a sickle be used as a weapon? It should be forced. Come on, kid, test your soul power. Under his guidance, the boy put his hand on the crystal ball and waited for a while, but the crystal ball did not change at all. Su Yuntao shook his head slightly disappointedly. Without soul power, you can't become a soul master. Go to the side first and be next. Then a little girl walked up and did the same thing again. Wuhan ho, soul power none next. Wuhan, wildflowers. Soul power none the next one. As the children stepped forward nervously and then left in disappointment, it was almost time for the two of Yin Hao. Tang San from behind pulled Yin Hao's arm. Brother Hao, it's time for the two of us. What kind of martial spirit do you think we can awaken? Who knows, but most of the martial souls are inherited from their parents. Uncle Tang Hao is a blacksmith, so you should be able to awaken a martial soul like a hammer. Tang San nodded. He still didn't know what his father's martial spirit was. As for his mother, he had never even heard of it. Another child has awakened his martial spirit. Your martial spirit is just a shovel, and you have no soul power. Just try the next one. Su Yuntao was a little disappointed. There were no children in the surrounding villages who could detect the soul power. This village is probably about the same. Even though he thought so, he greeted the next child with a glimmer of hope. Yin Hao came forward and greeted Su Yuntao first. Hello, brother. Su Yuntao smiled and patted Yin Hao's head. When he summoned his martial spirit just now, this child was one of the few children who didn't feel afraid. He was so polite, which also made Su Yuntao feel good. Come on, little brother, come inside. Yin Hao nodded and walked to the middle of the six-pointed star formation, followed by a burst of light. Yin Hao felt a warm feeling suddenly rising in his body and constantly hitting a barrier, and then it seemed that the barrier was broken, and the warm breath entered the palm from his body. No, not a palm. Yin Hao can clearly feel that besides the palm, there is a force in his body. Twin martial souls, a word emerged in Yin Hao's mind, but he did not express his joy. Instead, he calmly suppressed the power in his body and raised his right hand. Little brother, open your right hand. Yin Hao nodded, and as the palm of his right hand was opened, little bits of light emanated from it. Su Yuntao couldn't hide the smile on his face when he saw this scene. This light and this scene must be a high-level martial spirit. Right, if we can bring him to Wuhan Palace, that will be an achievement. When the palm was completely opened, the martial spirit was also revealed. A blue-silver grass that was thicker than other blue-silver grass and had golden stripes on it appeared from the hand. The smile on Su Yuntao's face suddenly froze there. I have already considered what I will do after being promoted. You tell me that the performance is gone. But the change didn't seem to be over. It wasn't the change of Wuhan, but the change of Yin Hao himself. With the special blue-silver grass appearing in Yin Hao's palm, Yin Hao's hair gradually became longer. The original ear-level hairstyle instantly elongated. The hair color also changed from black to blue, and the wheat-colored skin began to change. Light, but in a few seconds it becomes like white jade. But anyone who is a little bit smarter will guess if there is something special about this martial spirit when they see Yin Hao's changes. But who is Su Yuntao? The famous blind Douluo was so stupid when he read the martial spirit illustrated book. After seeing that Yin Hao's martial spirit was blue-silver grass, he lost any interest and his eyes were full of disappointment. Martial spirit, Lan Yingkao, here you go. Forget it, let's test the soul power. Originally, Su Yuntao didn't want to test Yin Hao's soul power. After all, he has been in this business for so many years, and he has never seen a blue-silver grass with soul power. However, considering Yin Hao's politeness, the process that should be followed, let's go. Come on, little brother, put your hands on this. Yin Hao nodded and put his hand on it according to Su Yuntao's instruction. The whole glass ball was lit up instantly, and in the blink of an eye, the bright spots spread rapidly until the whole glass ball was lit up and gave off a dazzling light. Su Yuntao was stunned and glanced at Yin Hao, who had already put down his hand. Innately full of soul power, actually full of innate soul power. Before Yin Hao could speak, Tang San behind him spoke first. Brother, what is innate full soul power? Su Yuntao took 2 deep breaths to calm down and then explained to everyone what innate soul power was like in the original book. Then he looked at Yin Hao with complex eyes. He was a genius with innate soul power. Any slightly better martial soul would be a good achievement. With this performance, he might be able to get a promotion and a salary increase and marry the goddess Sissy. But how could he be a blue-silver grass martial soul? What is the blue-silver grass martial soul? It is recognized as one of the most useless martial spirits. The performance that I saw at hand is gone. Su Yuntao's mood at this time was as if he had eaten 2 catties of that. It was disgusting. He turned his head and said to Yin Hao, Little brother, you are born full of soul power, but it is a pity that you are a useless martial soul. Otherwise you will definitely have a career in the future, but now. Hey, Yin Hao nodded after hearing this and prepared to go aside. After Su Yuntao thought about it, he still held Yin Hao and took off the badge tied around his waist and handed it to Yin Hao. This is my token. If you have anything to do, you can come to the Wuhanzi Palace in Notting City to find me. Yin Hao was stunned for a moment, but he still took the token. It was a black token with the word Prime written on it. Then Yin Hao nodded and said, Thank you, brother. Su Yuntao also smiled and waved Yin Hao stand aside. Chapter 4. 2 Blue Silver Grasses. 2. After Yin Hao went down, Tang San was the only one left on the field who hadn't awakened his spirit. Tang San stepped forward, taking the same steps as before, and another blue silver grass bloomed in his hands. Su Yuntao didn't have much hope at all, and he didn't feel much disappointed after seeing the blue silver grass. Okay, you go down. Brother, you haven't tested my soul power yet. Su Yuntao was stunned for a moment. He was about to say that Lan Yingkao would not have soul power, but when he thought of Yin Hao who had just arrived, he swallowed the words that were on his lips. He took out the crystal ball and handed it to Tang San. Tang San put his hand up and there was another burst of light. Although it was a little worse than when Yin Heiche had seen it before, it was not too different. Innate 9th level soul power. Originally, Tang San should have been born with full soul power, but in the past few years, Yin Hao used things to trade him down a few levels. Fortunately, he had the Xuanchen technique and was not slow in practicing, so he was able to return to level 9. Otherwise, he would have been able to reach level 5. No, Su Yuntao's whole body was numb. Is blue silver grass so popular now? What else can that thing do besides feeding sheep, cows, and rabbits? The soul power is innately at the 9th level, but he is just a useless martial soul, or else he is also a genius. The door opened, and old Jack greeted Su Yuntao nervously. Master, how is it? Is there any possibility that the children in our village will become soul masters this year? Su Yuntao looked at him, sighed, and said, There are actually 2, but it's a pity. With a look of surprise in Jack's eyes, he asked tentatively, Master, what is that? Su Yuntao said, Among the 9 children this year, only 2 have soul power, and 1 is born with full soul power and the other is born with level 9 soul power. But unfortunately their martial souls are all blue silver grass. You understood? Lan Yingkao, or 2. The disappointed expression on Jack's face was even more serious than Su Yuntao's. He has also been the village chief for so many years, so he naturally understands the meaning of innate full soul power and 9th level soul power. But when such innate soul power appears on the blue silver grass martial spirit, it's really, While the 2 were chatting, 9 children came out of the Wuhan Hall one after another. Old Jack stopped chatting and looked at the group of children, but he couldn't find his grandson after searching for a long time. On the contrary, there was a beautiful child with blue hair. Seeing that Su Yuntao was about to leave, Old Jack quickly stopped him and said, Dear War Spirit Master, where is my boy? Why hasn't he come out yet? Su Yuntao turned around and pointed to the handsome boy with blue hair and said, That's not it. After saying that, he turned around and left, leaving Old Jack alone in the wind. The evening wind was blowing gently. Not only did it not feel cold on Rendu's body, it was warm on the contrary. Old Jack took Yin Hao's hand and walked towards home, glancing at Yin Hao next to him from time to time. After the Wuhan awakening was over, after chatting with the child in front of him for more than half an hour, he finally confirmed that he was his grandson. But what puzzled him was that he was obviously raising a stupid chicken, so how could he suddenly turn into a big goose? Gene mutation. Fortunately, there is no such thing as plastic surgery in this world, otherwise I wouldn't know what old Jack would think. 2 flowers bloom, 1 branch each. Tang San on the other side has also returned home. Tang Hao still looked the same, with rags and rags, his hair covered with dirt, his whole body dirty, and an aura of decadence surrounding him. When Tang San came back, Tang Hao didn't even raise his eyes and asked casually, Come back, what kind of martial soul has awakened? Although Tang Hao had been indifferent to him since childhood and even needed Tang San's care, Tang San still cherished this hard-won family relationship and was very respectful to Tang Hao. Tang San said, Dad, I awakened the blue silver grass martial spirit. As he spoke, he opened his right hand, and a blue grass appeared instantly. Blue silver grass. For some reason, when Tang Hao, who was not very interested in any foreign objects, heard these 3 words, his body suddenly trembled, and a special gleam appeared in his eyes. Tang San thought it was because Tang Hao thought his martial spirit was too bad, so he quickly added, Father, actually I still have a martial soul, it seems. A hammer. Tang Hao's brewing emotions were instantly interrupted, and he looked sharply in Tang San's direction. What are you talking about? You still have a martial spirit. Tang San nodded, stretched out his other hand, and with a flash of black light, a black hammer appeared on his left hand. But as soon as it appeared, Tang San's brows immediately wrinkled, his face turned slightly pale, and his left hand began to tremble unconsciously, as if he wouldn't be able to hold it the next moment. Tang Hao became even more excited. 2 lines of old tears rolled down his cheeks. His hands grabbed Tang San's arm excitedly and looked up at the sky. Twin martial spirits. My son is a twin martial spirit. At this moment, Tang Hao's long-dormant heart for revenge was once again ignited. Martial Spirit Hall. Tang Hao's eyes showed a ruthless look, but he quickly put it away without being noticed by Tang San. After a long time, Tang Hao said slowly, Remember, in your future, you must use the hammer in your left hand to protect the grass in your right hand. Always. Although Tang San was a little confused, he still nodded. Tang Hao turned around and prepared to go back to his room, but at this moment, Tang San seemed to have thought of something. By the way, Dad, there is another person who has awakened the blue-silver grass martial spirit today. Tang Hao waved his hand. There are tens of billions of people in Douluo Continent, and every year there are at least 10,000 plus awakened blue-silver grass martial souls, so he doesn't care. But Tang San's next words directly attracted him. However, his blue-silver grass seems to be different from mine. It feels like his is thicker and stronger, and it is surrounded by golden stripes. It looks very beautiful. Tang Hao turned around sharply. Ziro-san, what did you say? Blue-silver grass with golden stripes, and it's thicker than yours. Seeing Tang Hao's excited face, although Tang San was curious, he didn't rush to ask but nodded and continued. I don't know why, but when he summoned the martial spirit, I also felt a little closeness although he didn't want to admit it, Tang San did have a slight thought of surrendering when Yin Hao summoned the martial spirit, but he was quickly snuffed out. Tang Hao seemed to be even more excited, pulling Tang San's arm and asking eagerly, Who awakened that martial spirit? Who are his parents? Tang San was a little hurt from being caught. His brows were slightly wrinkled, but he still spoke. It's that Yin Hao who always comes to deliver rice to us. He has no parents and is just an orphan who was adopted by Grandpa Jack. Chapter 5, Writing Wheel Eyes. Tang San was a little hurt from being caught. His brows were slightly wrinkled, but he still spoke. It's that Yin Hao who always comes to deliver rice to us. He has no parents and is just an orphan who was adopted by Grandpa Jack. Orphan, Blue-Silver Emperor. Ah Yin, could it be twins? But why didn't you tell me? Could it be? She knew. No. Impossible. She couldn't know. Tang Hao seemed to be possessed by a demon. He became stupid and kept muttering something in his mouth. Seeing Tang Hao like this, Tang San couldn't help showing a bit of worry, wanted to call him, but was afraid that interrupting him suddenly would make him even more crazy, so he had to stand aside and look nervously at himself. Tang Hao in Chinese. After about 10 minutes, Tang Hao finally woke up, turned his head to look at Tang San, and went back to the house alone without saying a word. Yin Hao on the other side was also checking his second martial spirit at this time. Sharingen, what a Sharingen! Yin Hao in front of the mirror looked at himself in the mirror, with blue hair shawl, suet white jade-like skin that was enviable, and a pair of peach blossom eyes that seemed to spark discharge all the time. Of course, this is not the point. The point is a pair of red eyes, and there is a black hook jade like a tadpole inside. What else can it be if it is not Sharingen? Looking at himself in the mirror, Yin Hao suddenly smiled. As one of the old fans of the Legend of the Five Villages' Eyes, Yin Hao once imagined that he could have a pair of Sharingen, of course not for killing people, but purely because he thinks he is handsome. Suzuo doesn't love anyone when he opens, and when Kamui comes out, he monopolizes all directions, as well as Tsukuyomi, Byatenjin, and the strongest physical attack Amaterasu who can't be burned to death, as well as the basic ability of dynamic vision and copying skills. Said, after all, in the Naruto world during the Warring States period, Madara could say that while standing in Hashirama, everyone sitting in front of Sharingen is scum. Although it's just a single hook jade, it's not that it can't grow, it's just the conditions for writing sharing eyes to grow. It's kind of like that. System, if I don't receive mental stimulation, can my sharing and grow? Growth can be exchanged through the system mal. Hearing this sentence, Yin Hao breathed a sigh of relief instantly. If he had to be mentally stimulated to evolve, then he would be called a calf. Although I can't afford the things in the system mal now, I may not be able to afford them in a few years. However, Yin Hao does not intend to expose the sharing and martial soul for the time being. After all, the Blue-Silver Emperor has been exposed. There is no need to expose the matter of his twin martial souls. After all, if a tree is in the forest, the wind will destroy it. Yin Hao still understands this truth. He doesn't have any background. If someone has an idea of destroy it if you don't get it, it will be dangerous. However, if you don't expose it, you can still cultivate. As for adding a spirit ring too early, what should you do if the age limit is too low? Is that a problem for the systematic Yin Hao? The age of the soul ring is low. Wouldn't it be enough to trade someone else's soul ring? Even if it is a 10-year spirit ring, trading alone can give him 10 years. The only thing I need to worry about is that my body, which doesn't have a soul bone, can't bear it. After all, the previous owners of twin martial souls were not supported to death by soul power. Therefore, it is not too early to add a soul ring to Sharingen. The next morning, old Jack went out before dawn. He walked back and forth several times, sometimes taking a few bottles of wine, sometimes taking a few kilograms of meat. Every time he came back cursing and then took it with him again cursing. Things leave. It wasn't until the afternoon that I finally finished. Old Jack said cursingly, these greedy guys, don't they just use their places for work-study students? They don't need it. Seeing Yin Hao here, old Jack hurriedly put away his curse words and said to Yin Hao, Ziro Hao, Grandpa has already secured a place for you as a work-study student. The place in our village will be given to the mistress. When the time comes, you will go to school together so you can be taken care of. Yin Hao smiled and nodded and said, then I'll tell little San the news. Old Jack was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Seeing the back of Yin Hao leaving, old Jack smiled gratifiedly. This kid is really sensible. In fact, Yin Hao has no interest in going to Tang San's house except for business, but I remember that in the original book, when old Jack went to talk about enrolling, he was very angry at Tang Hao, and Yin Hao was afraid of it alone. So I took the initiative to go there for him. The Holy Soul village is not big, so it didn't take long to arrive at the door of the blacksmith shop. The voice of Dang Ding Dang kept coming from inside, followed by Tang Hao's voice. Zyro-san, use your calf to exert force. The force is transmitted to the thigh, passes through the waist, back, arms, and finally released. This is a full blow. Yin Hao stepped forward and knocked on the door, and a young voice came out instantly. Who? Little San, it's me, Yin Hao. Then there was another bang sound inside, and within half a minute, Tang San, blushing and sweating profusely, opened the door. Brother Hao, what's the matter? I'm here to tell you about our enrollment in 3 months. Just in the middle of speaking, I only heard another thick voice coming out from inside. Little San, let Zyro Hao come in, don't stand at the door and talk. Okay, Dad, Brother Hao, come in and talk. Yin Hao nodded, but he still had some doubts in his heart. Although he had often sent things to Tang San and his family over the years, he always gave them to Tang San directly. He rarely had the chance to see Tang Hao, and the words he had said were even less. However, it was the first time that he took the initiative to speak like today. Tang San led Yin Hao into the room. The temperature in the room was not low, and there was still a large flame burning in the forging furnace nearby. Tang Hao sat in front of the only table in the room, looking stupidly at the people who had just entered. Yin Hao, a yin. With blue hair and shawls and handsome facial features, Tang Hao seemed to see our yin back then, which also made him more sure of his previous guess. Tang Hao took 2 deep breaths, calmed down, and spoke softly. Your name is Yin Hao, right? Thank you for taking care of my mistress these past few years. But I've never seen this guy show any actual acts of gratitude. Yin Hao complained in his heart, but there was still a smile on his face. Uncle Hao, you're welcome, it's nothing. Zyro Hao, tell Uncle, do you know who your biological parents are? Yin Hao gave Tang Hao a strange look, and Tang San did the same. He didn't know why someone who usually couldn't even talk to him attracted his attention. However, Yin Hao shook his head honestly. There is nothing he can do about being dishonest. Although this guy's character is not good, his strength is definitely top-notch. If he goes crazy and gives him a hammer, then his small body can't stand it. I haven't seen my biological parents since I was born. Grandpa Jack picked me up. Chapter 6. Tang Hao, is he my son? Then what's the matter with your appearance? How did you become what you are now? Tang Hao became more excited as he listened and asked eagerly again. It's all said and done, no matter how stupid Yin Hao is, he can still guess. This guy wouldn't think of me as his and Ah Yin's son, would he? That's right, there is only one blue-silver emperor in a generation, and Ah Yin is the only blue-silver emperor, so who else could the child with the blood of the blue-silver emperor be hers? But Tang Hao would never have thought that Yin Hao's blue-silver emperor bloodline was actually traded with Tang San. I don't know what happened to my appearance, but when I awakened my martial soul, I felt that there seemed to be a power in my body awakened, and then it became like this. Since he has already misunderstood a little, then Yin Hao doesn't mind making his misunderstanding a little bit deeper. A tool man with the title of Douluo is excited just thinking about it. And even if it is discovered that he cheated Tang San in the future, there is no need to be afraid of revenge from Tang Hao. After all, tigers do not eat their children. When the martial soul is awakened, the bloodline is awakened. The bloodline awakening that can only appear in the bloodline of the direct blue-silver emperor. Afterwards, no matter what Tang Hao asked, Yin Hao deliberately guided him to he is his own son. Sure enough, Tang Hao's eyes on Yin Hao changed after a while, showing love, guilt, and remorse. Yin Hao didn't stay longer, even though Tang Hao wanted him to stay a little longer, but Yin Hao refused on the grounds that he was in a hurry to go home and talk to his grandfather about enrolling. In the end, Tang Hao could only sit there blankly, watching Yin Hao gradually disappear from his gaze. It wasn't until Yin Hao left completely that Tang San finally spoke out the questions that filled his head. Father, what are you asking him for? Does Brother Hao have any questions? Tang Hao raised his head and opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but he seemed to think of something again. He still shook his head and didn't say anything, just spoke. Little San, remember, you can't hurt him when you're outside, and you need to do your best to protect him, so use the hammer in your left hand to protect him. Tang San nodded, half understood. As a person who lived in the feudal era for more than 30 years, he had engraved father's order must not be violated into his bones. He didn't need to ask why, and he didn't need to ask right or wrong. On the way home, Yin Hao was walking alone on the road, and there were voices greeting him from the side of the road from time to time, and Yin Hao also responded. To be honest, Yin Hao did not expect what happened today, but it is not a bad thing, but a good thing. If there is no accident, he will also get a bodyguard at the title Douluo level in the future, and safety is no longer the biggest problem. 3 months passed in a flash. During these 3 months, Yin Hao still often went to Tang San's house to give him things, and successively harvested 2% of the blue-silver emperor's bloodline and hidden weapon techniques. But the difference from before is that when I went to Tang San's house before, I would just chat with Tang San for a few words and then leave. Now the other party is obviously much more enthusiastic, and Tang Hao will come out of the room to talk to himself from time to time. Now Yin Hao's blue-silver emperor bloodline had reached 37%. If nothing unexpected happened, there should be only a dozen bloodlines left in Tang San's body. His first spirit was almost useless. In Notting City, old Jack led Yin Hao and Tang San forward. Zyrohao, Zyrosan, Grandpa will go back after sending you to the college. You must listen to the teacher's instructions in the college, and don't leave the college without authorization. When the semester is over, Grandpa Jack will pick you up again. Yin Hao and the two nodded. Several people inquired about the location of Notting College all the way and rushed all the way to the college. In the distance they saw a tall arch, 20 meters wide and 10 meters high, all repaired from hard rock, with 2 iron gates underneath, swarthy. There are 4 big characters Nodding College written on the top of the arch. The 3 of Yin Hao were stopped when they arrived at the door. What are you doing? This is Notting College, don't you know? Nobody is allowed to enter. Old Jack handed over the Wuhandian's certificate in his hand while smiling, but before he handed it over he was stopped by Yin Hao. Yin Hao knew the plot of the original party, so he naturally knew what the concierge was. Although he didn't want to get entangled with such a small person, it was also impossible for him to watch old Jack be humiliated. In fact, anyone with a bit of social experience knows that concierges everywhere are little ghosts and they just give them money. But old Jack stayed in the village all his life. Tang San was obsessed with hidden weapons all his life in his previous life, so he didn't understand these things. Yin Hao pulled old Jack and said a few words. After hearing this, old Jack frowned and looked pained, but he still took out 2 silver soul coins from his arms and handed them along with the Wuhan Temple certificate. Little brother, we are indeed here to enroll. This is the proof of Wuhandian. Take a look. Seeing that it was beneficial, the concierge changed his face instantly, took the proof with a smile on his face, and put the 2 silver soul coins into his pocket. By the way, he just glanced at it without looking carefully. So he returned the certificate with a smile on his face. I'm sorry, old man, I'm blind. These 2 children are the children who came to school, right? Just go in. Afterwards, old Jack explained a few more words to the 2 of them, then turned and left. Yin Hao and Tang San didn't stay long after talking with old Jack. They turned around and entered Notting College. Yin Hao walked forward while looking around, wanting to see if he could find that little rabbit. As a senior LSB, even in his previous life, he often let his female friends cosplay Zyro Wu, Zhujuking and the like. Now we are going to meet the real person soon, can you not be excited? Tang San looked at Yin Hao next to him, frowned slightly and said, Brother Hao, what are you looking for? Yin Hao came back to his senses. I didn't find anything, I just came here to see the surrounding environment. Oh so, let's go, let's report quickly. After the 2 left, a middle-aged man of about 52 years old with a very ordinary appearance came slowly at the gate of Notting College. The porter called out respectfully when he saw the person coming. Grandmaster. Yu Zyrogang nodded and didn't pay much attention to the porter. He raised his foot and was ready to go in. For some reason, Yu Zyrogang panicked for no reason. He frowned and turned to look at the concierge. Did anyone come here just now? The concierge didn't dare to neglect and said hastily, Yes, just now 2 children of the blue-silver grass Wuhan came to school with a report from the Wuhan Palace. Blue-silver grass martial soul, can this also be cultivated? Yu Zyrogang sneered. A waste soul also came to Notting College, really. Chapter 7, excited Yu Zyrogang was about to leave when he asked again casually by mistake, what level of innate soul power do they have? The concierge just thought for a moment and said, It seems, one has 9th level soul power and the other has innate full soul power. The foot that Yu Zyro had just stepped out stopped instantly, and she was stunned for 2 seconds, and then she couldn't help but get excited. Twin martial souls, definitely twin spirits, and there are still 2. This is God help me, I Yu Zyrogang have today too. As long as I accept the apprentices of these 2 twin martial souls and teach them, I will definitely become famous. Who will dare to say that I am a waste? Seems to have fantasized about a better life in the future. Yu Zyrogang laughed unconsciously. The concierge at the side was stunned for a while. This master can't be stupid, can he? After about a minute, Yu Zyrogang finally reacted. He looked at the concierge eagerly and said, Where are they? Where did they go? They just came to register. They should go to the registration office. Hearing this, Yu Zyrogang hurried to the registration office for fear of being late. At this time, on the other side, Yin Hao and Tang San had already registered and came out, but as work-study students, the school did not provide them with mattresses or anything like that. Yin Hao looked at Tang San and said, Little San, we didn't bring mattresses and the school doesn't give them any, so we can only buy a set. Tang San nodded, but seemed to have thought of something and said with a somewhat ugly expression, How, brother Hao, I have no money. In the original book, Tang Hao didn't work very much. He would only do a little work to earn money for drinking when there was no alcohol at home, and the money for Tang San's schooling was still given by old Jack. However, in this life, old Jack has a grandson called Yin Hao, so naturally he will not give money to an outsider. It is good to take care of him on weekdays, so the money will naturally be left to his grandson. The corner of Yin Hao's mouth raised, and he took out a silver soul coin from his pocket. "Come on, little three, I'll give you money." Tang San was stunned for a moment. A silver soul coin was quite a lot, but Yin Hao gave it to him directly, which still made Tang San a little touched. At the same time, a voice sounded in Yin Hao's mind: "Congratulations to the host for getting half a level of Tang San's soul power in exchange for a silver soul coin. Because the host's soul power has reached level 10 and does not have the first soul ring, it cannot be claimed temporarily." Seeing Tang San's moved expression, Yin Hao patted him on the shoulder. "Little San, we are away from home. We are friends who grew up together, so we have to help each other. In the future, if you need anything, you can just go to Brother Hao directly, and you don't need to trouble others." Tang San was even more moved and nodded in agreement. At this moment, a voice sounded from their ears. "Hello, two classmates, are you new students?" Tang San and Yin Hao looked at them almost at the same time and saw a short-haired, middle-aged man standing next to them with a smile on his face, looking at them with a kind look on his face. "Yes, we are new students." "Are you?" Yu Xiaogang smiled and said, "They all call me Master, and I can be considered a member of Notting Academy. Can I see your Spirit Hall certificates?" Sure enough, it was him. Yin Hao's heart sank. He didn't have a good impression of the Dershi, who was not as sinister as Tang San in the original work, but far more disgusting than Tang San. He kept saying there are no useless martial spirits, only useless soul masters, but he was unwilling to teach the ordinary talented children of Notting Academy and instead accepted Tang San, who had twin martial spirits and was born with full soul power, as his disciple. "Let's talk about the 10 core competitivenesses of Wuhan," he proposed, not to mention that there are many mistakes in it. How did he, a great soul master, understand those theories about Soul Saint and Soul Douluo, relying on Bibi Dong's relationship? He entered the library of Wuhan Palace to steal the theories of his ancestors, and then integrated them together and added some of his own things, and then said that he came up with it. That's not all yet. Bibi Dong can be said to have been of great help to him, right, but what about him? He trained Tang San to fight against the Spirit Hall, and even asked Bibi Dong for a solution to the twin spirits with a smile on his face. Bibi Dong had let him go several times because of her old relationship, and even helped him, but until Tang San killed Bibi Dong, he didn't say a kind word to her and allowed Tang San to kill her. Besides Liu Erlong, many people said that he can't be blamed for this. After all, he is a close relative. That's not wrong. It's normal to find out on the wedding night that the wife who is going to marry him is his cousin, and he can't accept it for a while. But how did he do it? After Liu Erlong's father, Yu Lumayan, told the truth, he left Liu Erlong alone and ran away, dumping all the pressure on Liu Erlong. This is not over yet. When Liu Erlong was frantically looking for him, he actually hid himself. "It's good for you to come out and give an explanation. At least write a letter, even if you don't say anything. It's better than wasting 20 years of other people's youth. Anyway, in one sentence, this so-called master is a deceitful, irresponsible, ungrateful, and very shameless guy." Back to the text. When he heard that Yu Xiaogang asked for proof of his and Yin Hao's Spirit Hall, Tang San hesitated for a moment, turned to look at Yin Hao, and saw Yin Hao nodding, then handed him the 2 certificates. Yu Xiaogang read the 2 certificates with anticipation. Tang San, innate 9th level soul power, martial soul blue silver grass. Yin Hao was born with full soul power and the martial soul blue silver grass. The more Yu Xiaogang watched, the more excited he became, and a smile appeared on his face unconsciously. Immediately afterwards, he turned his hands away, pretended to be unfathomable, and said, "You all have a secret that you didn't write on the certificate, right?" Tang San was startled, but still asked calmly, "What are you talking about, teacher? Isn't it all written on my information report? What's the secret?" Seeing that Tang San and Yin Hao didn't show a trace of strangeness, the master nodded slightly, calm, not bad. Tang San, this old Yin, was really pretending, but Yin Hao was really not surprised at all. He had known all this for a long time. Why was he surprised? Yu Xiaogang continued, "You two come with me, I have something to tell you." After speaking, he turned and left. Yin Hao and the two followed suit. When he reached a place where no one was around, Yu Xiaogang continued, "Both of you have twin spirits, right?" When Tang San heard this, he glanced at Yin Hao in surprise. Could it be that he also had a twin martial spirit? However, he didn't have time to think too much, and turned to look at Yu Xiaogang again. His right hand was quietly fidgeting in a position where no one noticed. If he couldn't say it well, then if there was no one in this place, he would be buried. Place. As for the reason, isn't it enough to know that Tang Sancho's secret has already constituted the path to death? Chapter 8, Tang San Apprenticeship. At this time, Yu Xiaogang didn't know that his life was threatened, and he still pretended to be unfathomable, which made Yin Hao feel sick. "Are you curious how I know?" Yu Xiaogang raised the 2 Wuhandian certificates in Yang's hand and said, "Just rely on this. I once investigated 640 people whose martial spirit was blue-silver grass. Among them, 16 had soul power, and the probability was less than %. And even among these 16 people who possessed soul power, none of them soul power can exceed level 1, but you are born with level 9 soul power, and he is born with full soul power. According to one of the 10 core competitiveness of Wuhan that I have studied, the size of the innate soul power is directly proportional to the quality of the Wuhan. Blue silver grass is clearly not satisfied, so I can be sure that the two of you should have another martial soul, and it is a very powerful martial soul. It was still the same rhetoric in the original book. Yin Hao almost fell asleep after listening to it, but Tang San was taken aback for a while. Suddenly, Tang San took a step back, widening the distance between himself and Yu Zairogang. Then he knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times to the master respectfully. Yu Zairogang was stunned and quickly supported him. "What are you doing?" "Teacher," Tang San called respectfully, "please accept me as your apprentice." Seeing that he succeeded in fooling around, Yu Zairogang smiled again. "Okay, good boy, all you need to do is to bow to your teacher." Kowtowing is a courtesy to parents and kings. Tang San shook his head. "Once you are a teacher, you are always a father. This is what you should do." Hearing this, the smile on Yu Zairogang's face became even brighter, and he even said 3 good words. "Okay, kid, get up quickly." Lifting Tang San up, Yu Zairogang turned his attention to Yin Hao's direction again. This child is born full of soul power, even better talent than Tang San. Seeing Yu Zairogang's gaze, Yin Hao frowned slightly. If he wanted him to worship Yu Zairogang as his disciple, he might as well kill him. Then he spoke. "I'm sorry, master, I have no plans to become a teacher for the time being." Yu Zairogang still doesn't give up. "Son, you have twin martial souls. No one is more suitable to teach you than me." Hearing such shameless remarks, Yin Hao almost threw up, but he still spoke calmly. "No, master, you misunderstood me. I am not twin martial souls." "How can?" Just as Yu Zairo was about to retort, she saw that Yin Hao had already summoned the martial spirit. A thick blue-silver grass surrounded by golden stripes appeared in front of the two of them. The moment the blue-silver emperor appeared, Tang San had a feeling of wanting to surrender, but he held back, turning to another kind of kindness. "Master, you have also seen that my martial soul is not an ordinary blue-silver grass, but a mutant martial soul." Yu Zairogang was stunned for a moment. With his knowledge, he would definitely not be able to recognize the blue-silver emperor. Since Yin Hao said it was a mutated martial soul, he believed it half to 80%. The thought of taking Yin Hao as his apprentice suddenly faded a lot. In his opinion, even if Yin Hao is a mutated martial soul with full soul power, he is not as potential as Tang San with twin martial souls. After all, as long as he cultivates to the later stage, when Tang San started to cultivate the second spirit, he would start with the 10,000-year spirit ring. How could a small mutated spirit catch up to that? Then he persuaded him a few more words. Seeing that Yin Hao was still unwilling, he stopped talking and instead led Tang San to go to his dormitory. Tang San turned his head to look at Yin Hao and said, "Brother Hao, go to the dormitory first. I'll go there later." Yin Hao nodded and turned to leave. Yin Hao inquired all the way and finally found Quiche. "Open the door and go in. There are quite a few people inside, about a dozen people. Some are about the same age as Yin Hao, and some are a head taller than Yin Hao." Yin Hao took the lead to greet everyone. "Hello, my name is Yin Hao, and I am a new work-study student." A burly-looking boy who was 40 or 50 centimeters taller than Yin Hao came forward and looked Yin Hao up and down. With blue hair and jade-like skin, at first glance, he looks like a pretty boy who is not worth mentioning. "Newcomer," Yin Hao nodded. "My name is Wang Sheng, and my martial spirit is Zhanhu, the future War Soul Master. I am also the boss here. What is your martial spirit?" The corner of Yin Hao's mouth raised slightly. He naturally knew what Wang Sheng was going to do, but why would he be afraid? "My martial spirit is the mutated blue-silver grass." Yin Hao didn't say blue-silver emperor. Even if he did, they didn't know what it was. It would be more reliable to say it was a mutated martial spirit. "Blue-silver grass, a mutated blue-silver grass, ha ha ha." Wang Sheng laughed, and the others also laughed with him. "Boy, when you come to Quiche, you must abide by Quiche's rules and call me boss, do you understand?" "What if I don't want to?" Wang Sheng was stunned for a moment, and then said with a dark face and displeasure, "Then fight with me, and if you beat me, you will be the boss of Quiche." While talking, he summoned his own martial spirit, and seemed to have decided to teach this kid a lesson no matter whether Yin Hao agreed or not. "Then, please." Yin Hao stretched out his right hand and made a gesture of please. Wang Sheng became even more angry and rushed towards Yin Hao while shouting, "Ah boy, let me show you how powerful Boss Quiche is, look at boxing." At the same time, the Pona boys behind him kept shouting, "The boss is mighty. Boss, teach this new boy a lesson. Hit him, boss." Hearing the voice behind him, Wang Sheng rushed forward even faster, as if he wanted to take down the kid in front of him with one move. But just when Wang Sheng was about to rush to Yin Hao, a scene that surprised people appeared. Just listen to a pop sound. Wang Sheng, who was so majestic just now, performed a face-down 5-body throw to the ground for everyone present, leaving everyone present dumbfounded. Especially those little brothers behind him who were still shouting just now became dumb almost instantly. Wang Sheng raised his face, covered his bleeding nose, and looked down at his feet. Sure enough, there was a blue-silver grass with golden patterns wrapped around his ankle, and it was this little thing that tripped him. Wang Sheng stood up, trying to tear off the blue-silver grass, but tried several times, but it was all in vain, so he had to look at Yin Hao with dissatisfaction. It doesn't count this time. If you have the guts to let me go, we can have an open fight. To his surprise, Yin Hao readily agreed. Then the two opened up the distance again. Wang Sheng looked at Yin Hao, who was not far away. This time he no longer underestimated the enemy as before. A pony boy behind him also came to Wang Sheng's side. "Boss, be careful, this kid is a bit evil," Wang Sheng snorted coldly. "I know, but as long as this kid is not playing tricks, you can see how I deal with him." Hearing what he said, Zyro Mazai nodded and retreated. He still knew Wang Sheng's strength. The three of them tied together would not be Wang Sheng's opponent, so he didn't doubt Wang Sheng's words. Chapter 9. Zyro Wu arrives just after Zyro Mazai retreated. Wang Sheng shouted again. Zhanhu possessed. A tiger similar to the one before appeared again, and then Wang Sheng shouted and rushed forward again. Seeing Wang Sheng rushing over, Yin Hao slowly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his eyes had changed greatly. The originally black and white eyes turned red, and a black Magatama appeared on them. In the world of Daoyi, there is no such thing as a body spirit, and there has never been a powerful person with an eye spirit, so as long as Yin Hao doesn't say it, most people will not think that this eye is a spirit, let alone still the second martial spirit. Wang Sheng's left fist hit Yin Hao's nose straight, and it looked like he was using a lot of force. If he hit Yin Hao's nose, the nosebleed would be minor. However, although Wang Sheng had already punched at his fastest speed, it was still too slow in Yin Hao's eyes, so he just dodged slightly to the left and avoided Wang Sheng's punch. Seeing that the attack was dodged by Yin Hao, Wang Sheng immediately made another punch. This time, the right fist no longer went straight, but hit Yin Hao's left cheek in an arc, but he was disappointed again. The right fist he swung out with all his strength was avoided by Yin Hao, which made Wang Sheng feel like he punched cotton. Before he could throw his third punch, Yin Hao stretched out his right leg and kicked Wang Sheng in the chest from a tricky angle. After Yin Hao awakened the bloodline of the Blue-Silver Emperor, not only did his appearance change, but his strength also increased several times. For a moment, Wang Sheng only felt a sharp pain in his chest, and then he flew out as a whole and performed another posture of flattening the sand and falling geese with his butt facing backward. Everyone present was stunned. You looked at me and I looked at you. No one knew what to do now. In fact, Yin Hao didn't use much strength. If he used all his strength, even if he kicked him to death, it would not be a problem to break a few ribs. So after Wang Sheng screamed on the ground for more than 10 seconds, he stood up holding his chest. "I, Wang Sheng, keep my word. From now on you will be the boss of our quiche, and we will all call you boss." "Boss," the dozen or so people behind shouted in unison. The new boss is more powerful than Wang Sheng, so will they no longer have to be bullied in the future? This is the voice of the group of children almost at the same time, and the smiles on their faces are also revealed, including Wang Sheng. Even though he is the boss of Quiche, he still cannot avoid being bullied when facing Boss Zyro and others. Destiny. But now that Quiche has Yin Hao, can he protect them from Boss Zyro's bullying? Yin Hao nodded his head as he deserved the title, and then he spoke. "Where is my bed? Find me a bed." As soon as the new boss spoke, everyone started talking. "Come to my bed. The sun is good. I can just move to another bed." "Boss, please come to my place. It's on the outside. It's convenient." "Boss." Just as everyone was chattering, a crisp voice came from outside the door. "Is this Keisha?" Everyone looked towards the door and saw a pretty little girl standing at the door. The pretty little face is rosy, pink, and tender like a ripe peach, which makes people feel the urge to take a bite. Although her clothes are very simple, she looks very neat. Her long black hair was combed into a scorpion braid that fell over her hips. A pair of big watery eyes revealed curiosity. Who else could it be if it wasn't Zyro Wu? Although he knew Zyro Wu's identity and that she was here to enroll, Yin Hao still said, "Yes, this is Keisha. Is there something wrong with you? I am a new work-study student. My name is Zyro Wu, Dancing Wu. Hello, my name is Yin Hao." Just as Yin Hao was greeting Zyro Wu, Wang Sheng pulled Yin Hao's arm. It seemed that he was afraid that he would not know the rules of Quiche, and reminded, "Boss, we have rules in Quiche. Every newcomer has to fight with the current boss. If the newcomer loses, he must obey the boss's management. If he wins, he will be the new boss." Although Wang Sheng's voice is very low, who is Zyro Wu? 10-year-old rogue rabbit. Her ears are much better than ordinary people, so even if Wang Sheng's voice is not loud, Zyro Wu can hear clearly. "Fighting, I like it." Seeing that Zyro Wu heard his whisper, Wang Sheng looked a little embarrassed, so he simply didn't hide it and spoke directly. "Yes, this is our Keisha's rule." Then Wang Sheng pointed at Yin Hao. "This is the boss of our Kaishi. If you beat him, then you will be the new boss of our Kaishi. If you can lose, then you have to listen to our boss." After listening to Wang Sheng's words, the corners of Zyro Wu's mouth rose slightly, and she followed Wang Sheng's fingers to see their boss, who was Yin Hao, who had greeted her before. "I don't know why, but Zyro Wu feels, the person in front of me, smells so good, more fragrant than crystal carrots." "Hey, your name is Yin Hao, right? What is your martial spirit?" Yin Hao said while summoning the martial spirit. "My martial spirit is mutated blue-silver grass." Then a beautiful blue-silver grass with golden lines appeared in Yin Hao's hand. The moment the blue-silver emperor appeared, Xiao Wu's eyes lit up. It was this taste. So delicious. I really want to eat it. What should I do while thinking about it? Xiao Wu unconsciously drooled. All of this was seen by Yin Hao. He looked down at the blue-silver emperor in his hand, then looked up at Xiao Wu with glowing eyes. With the corners of his mouth slightly raised, he spoke in a seductive tone. Xiao Wu, if you give up, I can consider giving you some of my martial arts spirits. Hearing this, Xiao Wu's eyes lit up even more. It smelled so good, so what would it taste like? Thinking about this, my mouth is almost watering. However, Yin Hao's words stunned Wang Sheng and the others behind him. These days, gifts. Is it popular to give blue-silver grass? What's the use of that thing? Feed the sheep or feed the rabbit? Just as Xiao Wu was about to agree, she had a second thought. No, if I became the boss, then he would have to listen to me, and then I would have more golden patterned blue-silver grass to eat. The more Xiao Wu thought about it, the more she got right and said immediately, "No need, let's fight. If I win, you will call me Miss Xiao." As she spoke, she summoned her martial spirit, and a yellow halo appeared on her body. 100-year soul ring. It's actually a 100-year soul ring. Are all work-study students so good these days? The little girl opposite has a 100-year soul ring. The boss is in danger. Xiao Wu Wuhan, soft bone rabbit, a level attack type battle soul master. Please give me some advice. When Yin Hao saw that the temptation failed, he was not discouraged and spoke the same way. Yin Hao, martial soul, blue-silver grass, 10th level control system warrior, please advise. Chapter 10. Competing with Xiao Wu. After the two greeted each other, Xiao Wu took the lead in attacking. Xiao Wu is worthy of being a 10-year-old rogue rabbit. No matter in terms of combat experience or physical strength, Wang Sheng cannot compare. Without saying hello, he bent his legs slightly, jumped up in an instant, and kicked Yin Hao's chin with his toes. Yin Hao didn't dare to be careless. He opened sharing instantly, and his upper body retreated slightly, allowing Xiao Wu to kick in vain. Seeing Yin Hao dodging, Xiao Wu's eyes showed a hint of surprise, but it was replaced by surprise in an instant, which is interesting. At this time, Xiao Wu instantly retracted her right foot in the air, and after spinning her body in the air, her left leg was directly chopped off. With the power of rotation, the strength of the left leg is already good, but it is nothing to Yin Hao. He crossed his arms to form a cross, resisting Xiao Wu's leg, and then the blue-silver emperor appeared instantly, and the two vines were like two dragons, heading straight for Xiao Wu, who was still in the air. Xiao Wu narrowed her eyes, hurriedly withdrew her left leg, narrowly avoiding the blue-silver emperor's attack. But Yin Hao obviously didn't intend to let her go so easily. The two blue-silver emperor vines followed up again. Xiao Wu had no choice but to retreat again and again. She didn't expect that one day she would be forced to this point by the snacks she had when she was a child. A vine on the left swept across the ground when Xiao Wu retreated, and the vine on the right blocked Xiao Wu's retreat. Xiao Wu had no choice but to jump up slightly to avoid this move. At the same time, her eyes have been staring at Yin Hao outside the arena. As long as he is taken down, these blue-silver grasses will be useless. Just do it. Xiao Wu kicked back in the air and hit the wall beside her. Using the reaction force from the wall, she rushed forward. Although the idea was good, she miscalculated this time. Xiao Wu, who came to Yin Hao's side, hadn't launched an attack yet, only to see Yin Hao hitting him with a palm. Xiao Wu could only dodge to the side helplessly, then raised her right leg and swept across. Just when Xiao Wu thought that this move could take Yin Hao down, she didn't expect that Yin Hao also raised her right leg and bumped directly into her leg in the air. For a moment, Xiao Wu frowned and quickly stepped back 2 steps, covering her legs and looking at Yin Hao. Yin Hao also looked at her and smiled lightly. Do you still want to continue? Before he finished speaking, Xiao Wu, who was still clutching her legs just now, kicked her legs and rushed towards him again. At the same time, he kicked out with one leg, trying to kick Yin Hao down directly. Yin Hao didn't panic and kicked again, wanting to be tough with Xiao Wu. But Xiao Wu would not be so stupid. I saw that when Yin Hao stretched out her leg, she instantly withdrew her left leg, and at the same time completed a flip in the air with her hands on the ground. Her 2 slender legs were directly locked on his neck. It wasn't until now that Xiao Wu showed a satisfied smile. You lost. Then his legs exerted strength instantly, intending to throw Yin Hao out directly, but the next moment she couldn't laugh anymore. No matter how hard she tried, Yin Hao could not move at all, which made the smile on Xiao Wu's face freeze instantly. Yin Hao also looked at her with a half smile. What are you doing? You are not as good at saluting as you are you? Humph! Xiao Wu snorted coldly, then retracted her legs, stood in front of Yin Hao and spoke. I lost. Clap, clap, clap. At this time, Wang Sheng and others behind him applauded. They had never seen this kind of competition before, and they were all dumbfounded. Only their hands were still clapping. Hearing the applause, Xiao Wu also laughed and said to Yin Hao, I've given up now. Does what you said still count? This sentence stunned Wang Sheng and the others who were applauding. They all felt that their values were being reshaped. What's the situation? One wants to give a gift to Lan Yingkao and the other still wants it very much. Is it because they have not kept up with the trend of the times or have been abandoned by the times? Yin Hao smiled. Forget it, and why not count it? I'll give you another gift. Xiao Wu became interested and asked, what gift? Yin Hao said silently in his heart, system, exchange for 10 top-quality crystal radishes. Congratulations to the host for exchanging 10 top-quality crystal radishes, consuming gold soul. Feeling that the golden soul coins in his arms changed from 3 to 2 in an instant, Yin Hao felt a pain in his flesh. This is what he had slowly saved from hunting pheasants and hares in the back mountains over the years, plus the fact that old Jack given 1 gold soul coin. The whole property is only 3 gold soul coins and 5 silver soul coins. I bought a few radishes and spent a gold soul coin, really. Then, under Xiao Wu's expectant gaze, Yin Hao took out a crystal clear radish from his arms. As soon as she took it out of her arms, Xiao Wu's eyes lit up instantly. What a fragrant radish. Then he quickly took it from Yin Hao and started eating. Seeing this scene, Yin Hao smiled and nodded. Although the things in the system Mal are extremely expensive, he has almost never bought anything from it in the past few years, not because he is poor. Absolutely not, his voice is getting quieter. But the quality of the things inside is absolutely nothing to say, and it has everything you need. You can even buy the eternal mangekai of Sharingen, but the price. The string of zeros in the back almost gave Yin Hao a hard time. He took one look at it and never looked at it again. But this scene made Wang Sheng and the others behind him look stupid again. Not only can you use blue-silver grass to seduce girls, but you can also use carrots. If I knew that girls like these two things, why am I single until now? No, I will try next time. At this moment, a short-haired child wearing blue plain clothes walked in holding a quilt. Brother Hao, what are you doing? Tang San looked at the appearance of everyone present and asked curiously. After meeting Tang San, Wang Sheng approached him again. Boss, here comes another one, go and show him some color. Boss, Tang San looked at Wang Sheng then at Yin Hao with a dazed expression. How long has he been away? Why is Brother Hao still the boss? But what he meant, was he wanting Brother Hao to hit me? Tang San's eyes flickered, and the look he looked at Wang Sheng turned cold, causing Wang Sheng to tremble unconsciously. What Wang Sheng didn't expect was that this time Yin Hao not only refused directly, but also gave him a kick in the butt. Wang Sheng looked at Yin Hao with a grieved face, not knowing what he did wrong. Boss, just listen to Yin Hao say sharply. This is my brother, you asked me to give my brother some color, what do you mean? Hearing Yin Hao's words, Tang San was moved again. Brother Hao, you really treat me as a brother now. Wang Sheng was even more aggrieved, looked at Yin Hao and said, but the rules, what's wrong with the rules? Now I'm the boss, listen to me. Oh, Chapter 11, taking Xiao Wu to buy a quilt. After speaking to Wang Sheng, Yin Hao turned to look at Tang San again. Mistress, there are many empty beds here, you can just pick one. Okay. Tang San nodded, then randomly found an empty bed and walked over with the quilt in his arms. He glanced at Xiao Wu unconsciously when he passed by her, as if he felt a strange sense of familiarity, but he denied it. No, he has never seen this little girl before, so there is no sense of familiarity. Xiao Wu looked at the clean quilt in Tang San's hands and thought for a while. She seemed to have no quilt, so she looked at Yin Hao and said, Hey Yin, boss. Yin Hao said, you can just call me Brother Hao. Xiao Wu nodded. Brother Hao, have you brought a quilt? Yin Hao shook his head, did not bring. As soon as he finished speaking, a group of ponies behind him started working. Boss, use mine. I give it to you, boss. Mine is clean, boss, use mine. Xiao Wu also looked at Yin Hao eagerly, saying don't forget her. Yin Hao smiled, gave her a reassuring look, and then spoke to everyone. I'm your boss, so I'm responsible for you. I'll take all your quilts, and you don't need to cover anything yourself. I'll just go and buy a bed myself. Seeing Yin Hao's I think about you look, everyone was greatly moved. Boss. Then Yin Hao turned his head to look at Xiao Wu. Come on, Xiao Wu, you go shopping for a quilt with me, and I'll buy you a bed together. Hearing this, Xiao Wu's eyes instantly flashed with light. Really, then let's go quickly. Then he pulled Yin Hao and walked out. Yin Hao smiled and shook his head. He was really an anxious rabbit. The two of them came to the street. Xiao Wu was eating the top-quality crystal radish she got from Yin Hao while looking at everything around her curiously and asking Yin Hao a few questions from time to time. Yin Hao also explained it to him patiently. Brother Hao, what is this? Candid horse, do you want to eat? Forget it, I'll eat carrots. Brother Hao, this flower is so beautiful. Can we buy it? This is a wreath for the dead. Why should we give them flowers when people are dead? They can't see. As Xiao Wu made some shocking remarks, Yin Hao felt that if others didn't see him as a child, they would beat him up. So after apologizing, he quickly pulled Xiao Wu and left. The two of them walked all the way to the shop selling bedding and said to the owner of the shop, Boss, how much does it cost to buy 2 sets of bedding? The boss was a middle-aged man. When he saw Yin Hao wanted to buy a bedding, he hurriedly greeted him with a smile on his face. Little friend, you have come to the right place to buy quilts at my house. My quilts are well known far and wide. They are affordable and beautiful. Seeing that the boss was about to brag, Yin Hao quickly interrupted him. The boss was not embarrassed and started to introduce Yin Hao. Look, this bedding set is made of the fur of the 50-year-old soul beast flame sheep. If you want to buy it, I'll sell it to you at a cheaper price. It only costs 2 gold soul coins. Yin Hao waved his hand quickly after hearing the price. It's too expensive, just find me a cheaper one. Seeing that Yin Hao found it too expensive, the boss didn't force it, and then pointed to another set of quilts. Then look at this set. Although this spirit beast has not reached 50 years, it is still 10 years old, and the quilt is made of the fur of 5 10-year soft-bone rabbits. As soon as Yin Hao heard the words soft-bone rabbit, his heart thumped and he turned to look at Zyro Wu. At this time, Zyro Wu's face had darkened, and she looked at the store manager with an angry look. Seeing this, Yin Hao hurriedly interrupted the store manager, who was still beaming. Boss, I don't need soul animal skin, just an ordinary quilt. The boss stopped the introduction and looked Yin Hao up and down. He had seen that Yin Hao had good looks and a distinguished temperament, so he thought he was a young man from a wealthy family, but he was mistaken. The somewhat disappointed boss pointed at the quilts at the edge and said, "That's the cheapest quilt in our store, and it only needs 1 silver soul coin." "A Gintama coin," Yin Hao said with a surprised look. "Why is it so expensive?" The boss frowned, but based on the mentality that the customer was the god of wealth, he still spoke. "My little friend, this is really the cheapest quilt in our store. Even if you go to other stores, there is no cheaper one. I didn't insult you at all." Zyro Wu seemed to notice Yin Hao's embarrassment and spoke. "Brother Hao, what's wrong?" Yin Hao pretended to be sorry and said, Zyro Wu, I'm sorry. I didn't expect the quilt to be so expensive. The money left in my hand is only enough to buy a quilt. But don't worry, I will spend all my money to buy you a bed. As for myself, I am a boy, it doesn't matter even if I don't cover myself with a quilt." Seeing Yin Hao's self-sacrifice for others' look, Zyro Wu was deeply moved. The middle-aged store manager was also stunned for a moment, as if he saw his younger self. Looked at the quilt not far away, then looked at Yin Hao and seemed to have made a decision. "Good boy, how about this for 1 silver soul coin? Uncle will sell you 2 sets, and the other set will be given to you by Uncle." Yin Hao looked at the store manager with a shocked face. He never expected that his performance was so good. Not only Zyro Wu was moved, but even the owner of the store also made concessions. "But you have good intentions, but you used them in the wrong place." Yin Hao's brain was running rapidly, and suddenly a good excuse appeared in his mind, so he waved his hand and said, "No need, Uncle." This time, the store manager and Zyro Wu were stunned, wondering what Yin Hao meant. I saw Yin Hao speaking with great righteousness. "My grandpa once told me that a gentleman does not eat what he grumbles for. Moreover, my uncle and I are not relatives. If I say it to myself, I cannot let my uncle pay for me. If my uncle is interested, he will keep the quilt for me in the future. I will buy it when I have money." Okay, what a good boy," the store manager said good 3 times in a row, and the admiration in his eyes could no longer be hidden. "Okay, Uncle promises to keep it for you and buy it when you have money later." In the end, after Yin Hao paid all his net worth in 1 silver soul coin, he hugged a quilt and left with Zyro Wu. He had just left the store and hadn't walked a few steps when he heard Zyro Wu say, "Brother Hao, you gave me your quilt, what do you cover it with?" "Didn't I say it? I won't build it for now. I'll just buy it when I have money. I'm a big boy, so I can't freeze it." Hearing this, Zyro Wu hesitated for a moment, then walked forward holding the quilt and spoke. "Brother Hao, I think this quilt is quite big. Let's put the 2 beds together and cover it together." After hearing this, Yin Hao shirked at first, but seeing Zyro Wu's firm attitude, he still reluctantly agreed, and then went back to the dormitory with Zyro Wu to move the bed. But Zyro Wu didn't see it. The moment he turned around, a smile appeared on Yin Hao's face. "Yin Hao, hey, don't talk nonsense. She brought it up by herself, so what do I care?" Chapter 12, Going to the Martial Soul Branch Hall. It is said that after Zyro Wu and Yin Hao went back, that night under the amazed eyes of everyone, they put the 2 beds together, and then put on mattresses to sleep on the same bed. Yu Zyrogang called Tang San out early the next morning. As for the reason, he was naturally going to help Tang San obtain the first soul ring. Although Tang San only had 9 level innate soul power due to Yin Hao, after 3 months of training, he has reached level 10. But for some reason, Yu Zyrogang planned to take Yin Hao to hunt soul beasts, but Yin Hao refused. Originally, Yu Zyrogang didn't intend to help Yin Hao obtain the soul ring, and he is not his disciple, so why should he help? But who made Tang Hao come to his room suddenly last night and said a shocking news? Both Tang San and Yin Hao are his sons. Everyone in Yu Zyrogang was dumbfounded when they heard the news. "I can still accept that Tang San is your son. After all, his surname is Tang, and he also has the Heoshan hammer Wuhan, but Yin Hao is also your son. You are sure you are not green?" However, Tang Hao's tone was so precise that he didn't dare to ask more questions, and then Tang Hao told Yu Zyrogang to let him take care of his 2 sons, then left a token and left. After he left, Yu Zyrogang picked up the token and saw that it was the order of the Pope. Yu Zyrogang, who also stayed in Wuhan City for a while, knew the status of the Pope's decree, so he quickly put it away with a smile on his face. If Yin Hao knew about this, he would be very surprised, but he was not surprised by Tang Hao's words. But he was surprised that Tang Hao, who was supposed to come to Yu Zyrogang a year later, actually showed up a year early. This should be the legend the butterfly effect in right. Having said that, when Yu Xiaogang came to Tang San the next morning to help him get the soul ring, he remembered Tang Hao's instructions and decided to help Yin Hao get it together. But Yin Hao, who is a traverser, knows Yu Xiaogang's strength too well, so follow him, not to mention being protected by him. Thank God he didn't hold back. How could Yin Hao go with him? After rejecting Yu Xiaogang, Yin Hao planned to take Su Yuntao's sign to see if he could help him get a soul ring. If he didn't want to help, then he would have to take out Su Yuntao's sign. The few golden soul coins went to the hunting team. On the way to the Wuhan temple, Yin Hao also bought a few bottles of medicine for trauma and snake venom, and planned to trade these bottles of medicine to Yu Xiaogang and them after they came back. That would be another income. Ha ha ha. Not long after, Yin Hao had already reached the gate of Wuhan Hall, but was stopped by 2 guards. Little friend, this is Wuhandian, not a place to play. You should go to another place to play. After hearing what they both said, Yin Hao calmly took out the token given by Su Yuntao from his pocket and said, "Uncle, I'm here to find brother Su Yuntao. This is the token he gave me earlier. Please take a look." Before the 2 guards could reply, a female voice came from behind. "Are you here to see Su Yuntao?" The 2 doormen heard the sound and hurriedly saluted. "Miss Sissy." Yin Hao turned his head and saw a woman wearing purple stockings standing behind him. She had fair skin and 3-dimensional features. Although she was not considered a top-notch beauty, she was still pretty. Is she Sissy, the legendary blind Douluo goddess is not bad-looking? Yin Hao thought to himself. However, Sissy's eyes lit up when she saw Yin Hao. She walked up and touched Yin Hao's face and said, "What a beautiful kid, what's your name?" This act of touching his face made Yin Hao speechless, but he didn't show it. Instead he spoke. "Hi sister, my name is Yin Hao." "Yin Hao, come on brother Yin Hao, tell sister, what are you doing here looking for Su Yuntao?" Yin Hao lowered his head slightly, pretending to be a child, actually a child, and said, "My soul power is at level 10 and I need a soul ring, but I dare not go to the hunting soul forest alone, so I came to brother Su Yuntao for help." Seeing Yin Hao's appearance, Cici's heart was about to melt, and she said with a smile while pinching Yin Hao's face, "Then sister will take you in." Yin Hao raised his head and looked at Cici gratefully with 2 peach blossom eyes. "Thank you sister." Then Cici stood up, took Yin Hao's little hand and walked towards the interior of the spirit hall. This time the guard didn't stop him. Walking inside, Su Yuntao was talking with an old man over 70 years old. When he saw Cici walking in, he stood up quickly and showed a flattering smile. "Cici, you're back." "Ah," Cici nodded and then said to Su Yuntao, "This little brother said he came to you to help him hunt for the first soul ring, so I brought it in for him. What do you say?" Su Yuntao looked at Yin Hao. He still had a little impression of Yin Hao. It was the first time in his life that he saw the crippled martial soul with full soul power. But at that time, I gave him a token just as a matter of convenience, and I really didn't want to do anything to help him, but he was brought in by his goddess after all, so he couldn't refute the goddess's face, right? Thinking of this, Su Yuntao said, "That's it, then I'll clean up and then go help him." Sissy nodded and was about to leave. Just when she turned around, Su Yuntao spoke again. "Sissy, can I treat you to a meal when I come back?" Sissy froze for a moment and said, "Then let's talk when you come back." Although he didn't get a positive answer, Su Yuntao was happy that he wasn't rejected. Now he couldn't wait to help Yin Hao get the soul ring and then come back to find his goddess. At this moment, Matthew Nuo, the master of the Wuhan branch hall in Notting City who had been standing nearby, spoke. "My child, you were born with full soul power, right? Can you release your martial soul and show it to Grandpa?" After Su Yuntao returned to the branch hall after finishing the matter of awakening the martial soul, he also told Matthew Nuo about Yin Hao. After listening to this, Matthew Nuo was very impressed with this child, who was born with the soul-powerful blue-silver grass martial soul. Interested, Yin Hao nodded. Then stretched out his right hand, and a blue-silver grass with golden stripes appeared in Yin Hao's hand. Seeing the appearance of blue-silver grass, Matthew Nuo was stunned for a moment. "This is blue-silver grass, is it a mutation?" The old man who was over 70 years old looked at Yin Hao's Wuhan and asked questions from time to time, looking like a curious baby. Su Yuntao is a little impatient. "I am still anxious to come back and date the goddess." "Aren't you delaying a major event in my life?" Of course he couldn't say that. "Master Matthew Nuo, I'm still in a hurry to get the first soul ring, so don't waste my time." Matthew Nuo was slightly stunned after hearing this, and when he thought about it, it seemed to make sense, so he spoke. "Well, let me go with you." Chapter 13, Searching for the Soul Ring in a Carriage. Matthew Nuo and Yin Hao sat inside, while Su Yuntao sat outside and reluctantly drove the carriage. Including him here, there are 3 people in total. There is also an old man and a child. If he doesn't drive the car, who will drive the car? And Matthew Nuo in the car was still studying Yin Hao's martial arts with a curious face. It's incredible that this blue-silver grass has such strong resilience after mutating. At this time, Su Yuntao, who had been blowing the cool breeze outside, spoke at this time. "Hey boy, have you decided what soul ring you want?" Yin Hao replied. "I want a soul ring that is about 400 years old. If possible, it would be even better to add some special attributes to my blue-silver grass." Su Yuntao laughed twice, hee hee. Your thinking is quite good. From my point of view, you have a blue-silver grass martial spirit, just find a 10-year spirit ring. Before Yin Hao could speak, Matthew knew it couldn't help it. Do you think he is the same as you? How old is your innate soul power? He is born with full soul power. Child, don't listen to him. Grandpa will find you a soul ring that suits you. Yin Hao smiled and nodded, looking at Matthew Nuo gratefully. This sentence choked Su Yuntao, but he still couldn't refute it, but he didn't say that what he said was true. Matthew face. A group of 3 people came to the soul hunting forest, and after the guard checked that there was no problem with the warrant, they let them in. After entering, Yin Hao looked left and right, curious about all this. Although he had read Douluo's original works and read many Douluo's fanfictions in his previous life, this is the first time Yin Hao has seen a soul beast since he was born. As for the mountain behind the Holy Soul Village, there are no soul beasts there, they are just ordinary beasts. Matthew Nuo stood next to Yin Hao, looking at Yin Hao with a kind face and telling him some knowledge about soul beasts from time to time. This is called lone bamboo. It grows 1 meter in 10 years. If this one is more than 5 meters high, it is a 50-year-old soul beast. This is an antlered deer. The horns on its head are its most powerful weapon. However, it has a docile temperament and generally does not attack people. This is Firefox. Matthew Nuo didn't spare any soul beasts and talked to Yin Hao seriously. Even Yin Hao himself didn't know why he was so kind to him after listening to Matthew Nuo's words. Yin Hao silently memorized them, but his main attention was not here. The moment he entered the hunting soul forest, he had already activated the Blue-Silver Emperor's talent domain, that is, the Blue-Silver domain. However, his spiritual power is limited now, and the range of the Blue-Silver domain is only a mere 200 meters. Although the scope is not large, it is enough to explore unknown places. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. After a busy day, he still couldn't find a soul beast that satisfied Yin Hao. There was no other way, so the 3 of them had to find a more open place to camp, and then shot a few hares, pheasants and the like. It was while hunting hares that Matthew Nuo revealed his martial soul and soul ring. He saw an eagle-like martial soul appearing in front of him, surrounded by 4 soul rings of white, yellow, and purple. He is a true soul sect. After handling the hare and pheasant, Yin Hao took the initiative to take on the responsibility of roasting the meat as a way of expressing his gratitude. He dressed a rabbit and put it on the barbecue grill. Then Yin Hao spent a gold soul coin to exchange for a few bottles of barbecue ingredients from his previous life in the system Mal. The small bottles of ingredients cost Yin Hao a gold soul. Damn, this system is so fucking hacky. However, the quality is still as good as ever. After the barbecue ingredients are evenly sprinkled on the hare, the aroma comes out directly. Smelling this scent, Su Yuntao, who was already very hungry, started to growl in his stomach. The sound was so loud that even Matthew Nuo could hear it clearly. Su Yuntao lowered his head in embarrassment, avoiding Matthew Nuo's sight, but Yin Hao didn't embarrass him for too long. Yin Hao took the pole wearing the hare off the shelf, then took the hare off the pole, put it on the big leaf that had been spread on the ground before, and then said, "Grandpa Matthew Nuo, brother Su Yuntao, it's baked. Come over and eat." Hearing the words, the 2 hurried over, not caring whether it was dirty or not, and sat down directly on the ground. Su Yuntao was the first to tear off a piece of rabbit meat and put it in his mouth. "It's quite delicious, boy. I've spent a whole day looking for the soul ring for you. You can bake me a few more, thank you, thank you." Before Yin Hao could speak, Matthew, who was sitting beside him, spoke first. "Why do you talk so much? Even eating meat can't stop you. If you talk again, stop eating." Su Yuntao quickly closed his mouth when he heard the words and started to eat the rabbit meat. Yin Hao smiled. After a day of communication, he also knew the reason why Matthew Nuo liked to choke Su Yuntao. That was that the goddess Su Yuntao was chasing, Sissy, was Matthew Nuo's niece, but her parents were both she died when she was a child, and she grew up with Matthew Nuo. Although she was just a niece, Matthew Nuo looked at her like her own daughter. Now a pig who wants to choke his own cabbage is standing in front of him, and he wants to choke his own cabbage every day in front of his face. No wonder Matthew Nuo likes to choke him. After eating, Matthew Nuo sprinkled some insect repellent powder around the tent, and then took Yin Hao to sleep, leaving Su Yuntao alone to keep vigil. Again, there are only 3 people here, an old man and a child. If you don't guard them, who will guard them? Of course, Matthew Nuo didn't let Su Yuntao stay on guard all night. In the second half of the night, he took the initiative to replace Su Yuntao. The next day after breakfast, the 3 of them went on the road again. After dealing with some unsightly spirit beasts, they wandered around to a pool. When he was only 60 meters away from the pool, Yin Hao suddenly raised his head and stopped the 2 of them who were walking forward. Su Yuntao was a little puzzled, looked at Yin Hao and said, "Boy, why?" Before the word was uttered, only a pop sound was heard, and a light blue creature over 20 meters long suddenly emerged from the originally calm water. The dark red vertical pupils in a pair of bloody eyes are like 2 clusters of vigorous flames, reflecting the sharp and straight horn wrapped with noble golden threads. The thick dragon tongue that has been completely transformed occasionally licks the neat white fangs. Maxu Nuo recognized the soul beast immediately after seeing and knowing a lot. In a split second, he broke out in a cold sweat. He held Yin Hao's hand and Su Yuntao's arm and didn't dare to say a word for fear of disturbing the soul beast. The beast led the two of them back slowly behind a tree. Chapter 14 Xuantan Ice Flood Dragon, Grandpa Maxu Nuo. What kind of soul beast is this? It looks very powerful. Yin Hao looked at Maxu Nuo and asked softly. Su Yuntao also cast a curious look. After hearing Yin Hao's question, Maxu Nuo spoke. This is called Xuantan Ice Jiao. It is a sub-dragon soul beast, and it is the top soul beast among the sub-dragon species. It is born with ice attributes and has the ability to control ice. It is only a 400- and 500-year-old soul beast, lost to the ordinary 1,000-year soul beast. Seeing that this ice dragon is more than 20 meters long, I am afraid it has reached the age of 2,000, and it has noticed us now. It will be difficult to leave today. Su Yuntao also expressed his doubts. Then since he has noticed us, why doesn't he attack us? Matsuno shook his head and said he didn't know either. At this moment, the water surface fluctuated again, and a smaller Xuantan ice dragon emerged from the water and moved towards the big ice dragon. However, before he got close, the big ice dragon roared back. The little ice dragon did not dare to resist and could only reluctantly retreat into the pool. Seeing the appearance of the little ice dragon, Yin Hao's eyes lit up and he asked quickly, Grandpa Maxu Nuo, how old is that smaller Xuantan ice dragon? Matsuno thought for a moment and said, that little ice dragon is about 4 meters long. It should be a spirit beast from the year 400. Yin Hao's gaze became more determined. He was attracted to the little ice dragon. But how this big ice dragon can do it is a problem. If nothing is decided, ask the system. How can you not use it if you have a plugin? System, is there any way to deal with this big ice dragon? I have found props for the host to deal with the Xuantan ice dragon. Dragon lure grass. It can greatly attract the attention of soul beasts with dragon blood. Price 1,000 gold soul coins. Anti-dragon oil. It can make soul beasts with dragon bloodlines feel extremely disgusted. Price 2,000 gold soul coins. Soul power bomb. It can produce certain lethality to spirit beasts and slow them down. Price 100 gold soul coins. Dragon lure grass, nylon oil. Soul power bomb. Seeing these three things, a fairly rigorous plan emerged in Yin Hao's mind, but no money. Brother system, I really have no money. My pocket is cleaner than my face, and now I've been targeted by that Shileozi's Xuantan ice dragon. If I don't do something, I'm going to die today. If I'm finished, you won't have a host, so you're finished too. Yin Hao said a lot, and the system finally gave a response. It has been detected that the host is in a dangerous situation, and an emergency loan program has been launched to provide loans to the host. Upper limit 100,000 monthly interest rate, 10%. The monthly interest rate is 10%. You are worse than that very good person. After all, they still calculate the interest on an annual basis, but you are calculating it on a monthly basis. The host can refuse the loan. Yin Hao's back molars are almost broken. This system is a trap. I loan. Please select the loan amount from the host. 5,000 gold soul coins. Loan has been issued. Current host assets. 5,001 gold soul coins. Arrears. 5,500. Start calculating interest now. Yin Hao was almost furious at this cheating system, but now was obviously not the time to argue with it. He hurriedly went to the system mal and squandered all the 5,000 gold soul coins he had just received from the loan. Congratulations to the host for redeeming the dragon luring grass, which consumes gold soul coins * 1,000. Congratulations to the host for redeeming the reverse dragon oil, which consumes gold soul coins * 2,000. Congratulations to the host for redeeming 20 soul bombs, which consumes gold soul coins * 2,000. After spending 5,000 gold soul coins in one go, Yin Hao became a pauper in an instant, and was also in debt of 5,500 gold soul coins. Then Yin Hao took the things exchanged from the system into the backpack beside him, and pulled the two people in front of him who were still sweating. Boy, what are you doing? Scared me. Su Yuntao was startled by Yin Hao's sudden movement. His nerves were now extremely tense. He kept looking at the Xuantan ice dragon not far away. He didn't even dare to take a breath for fear of making too big a move. It attracted it, but it couldn't be turned around and ran away for fear of attracting it. Su Yuntao regretted it to death now. What was he thinking at the time? Why did he agree to come to the soul hunting forest to help this kid get the soul ring? It's okay now. If not, I have to explain it here. Maxu Nuo hit Su Yuntao on the forehead. Why are you screaming at him? He's still a child. Like a resentful little daughter-in-law, Su Yuntao glanced at him resentfully, but did not speak. Zyro Yin Hao, what's the matter? Yin Hao nodded, took out the backpack next to him and said, Grandpa Maxu Nuo, brother Su Yuntao, there are a few things in this backpack that can help us deal with the Xuantan ice dragon. This sentence confused Maxu Nuo and Su Yuntao, and they spoke with hesitation. What? Then Yin Hao unzipped his backpack and briefly told the two of them the effects of dragon luring grass, dragon reverse oil and soul bomb, and then told them about his plan. The general meaning is that there is a person who uses the lure dragon grass to attract the attention of the Xuantan ice dragon, and then lures it out. In order to prevent it from being overtaken by it, he can throw a soul bomb backwards while running. It creates obstacles, don't let it catch up, try to delay the time as much as possible in the end, so that the people who stay here can deal with the little Xuantan ice dragon, and finally take out nylon oil and sprinkle it on the body after the soul bomb is thrown. Let Xuantan Bingjiao stop chasing him, and the two groups meet at the exit of the forest. After listening to Yin Hao's whole plan, Matthew Newt's first sentence was not to express his own opinion, but looked at Yin Hao seriously and said, "Little Yin Hao, tell Grandpa who gave you these things." Yin Hao had already prepared his words. "It was given to me by a mysterious strong man. He pulled me over and handed these things to me, saying that I would definitely be able to use them. In the end, I really did use them." After listening to Yin Hao's explanation, Matthew Newt looked very excited and asked eagerly while pulling Yin Hao's arm, "What does he look like? Is he also blue-haired, about 1.8 meters tall, and looks somewhat similar to you?" Although I don't know why Matthew Newt asked this, but at least he gave Yin Hao a more credible excuse. He nodded quickly and said, "He does have blue hair and he is about 1.8 meters tall, but he has his face covered, so I didn't see what he looked like clearly." Then Matthew Newt muttered in his mouth as if possessed by a demon, "It's him, it's really him, benefactor, he's back." "Grandpa Matsuno, what kind of benefactor are you?" Yin Hao asked with some doubts. Matthew Newt shook his head kindly and did not answer Yin Hao's question. Chapter 15, The First Soul Ring. In the end, Matthew Newt and Su Yuntao agreed to the plan. But when Su Yuntao asked who was going to lure Xuantan Bingjiao away, he found Yin Hao and Matthew Newt looking at him in unison. Still the same sentence, "There are 3 people here, 1 old man and 1 child. If you don't go, who will you go?" In the end, Su Yuntao took his backpack and left cursing. Leaving the cover of the tree, Su Yuntao was completely exposed to the vision of Xuantan Ice Jiao in an instant. Looking at the blue dragon floating in the air in front of him, Su Yuntao swallowed a mouthful of saliva and thought to himself, "Yin Hao, you kid, don't cheat on me or I will never let you go." Then he gritted his teeth, took out the dragon lure plant from the bag, crushed it directly with his soul power, let its smell dissipate, then held it in his hand and waved it at the Xuantan Ice dragon twice. "You idiot, come on." Originally, because of my own child, even if someone approached, the Xuantan Ice Flood Dragon did not leave the cold pool, but when the dragon lure grass was crushed by Su Yuntao, the 2 eyes of the Xuantan Ice Flood Dragon that smelled the smell instantly disappeared. When it turned red, it didn't matter whether it was a child or not. As soon as it twisted its body, it flew towards Su Yuntao. "I go." Su Yuntao didn't expect that grass to be so useful. Seeing the Xuantan Ice Dragon flying towards him recklessly, he was startled, picked up the backpack next to him and ran deep into the forest. But how could he outrun the Xuantan Ice Dragon? However, within a short distance of 100 meters, he was about to be overtaken. At this time, Su Yuntao quickly took out another soul bomb from his bag, injected a trace of soul power into it, and then threw it violently backwards. Fortunately, this thing is still useful. Not only did it stop the Xuantan Ice Dragon from advancing, it even made it retreat a little distance. Although it did not cause any substantial damage to it, it created a problem for Su Yuntao. 4 or 5 seconds to escape. When entering the forest, due to the obstruction of the trees, even if the Xuantan Ice Dragon is powerful, its actions will be hindered by the trees. What's worth mentioning is that the dragon lure grass is not just about making the Xuantan Ice Flood Dragon desperately chase after it, but it almost makes it lose its mind. Otherwise it would just spit out the dragon's breath, and Su Yuntao would have GG'd directly. Because the smell of dragon-attracting grass was blocked by the water, the little ice dragon did not smell it. When it realized that its mother had flown away and came out to check, the smell had disappeared without a trace. The moment the Xyrock Xuantan Ice Dragon flew out of the water, Ma Xianyu seized the opportunity. The 3rd and 4th soul rings beside him instantly lit up, and he flew towards the little ice dragon at an extremely fast speed. The 4th soul skill, Eagle Strikes the Sky. At this time, the little ice dragon was still looking left and right to find its mother, and it was too late when it noticed the oncoming attack. It was caught by Matthew New's claws on its neck, and several deep bone scars appeared on its neck in an instant. The blue blood flowed straight. If an ordinary 400-year-old soul beast were unprepared and received such a blow, its entire neck would probably be broken. However, the little ice dragon only suffered some injuries under the protection of Linjia, which shows its strong defense. But the stronger it is, the more determined Yin Hao is to make it his first spirit ring. Feeling the pain from the neck, the little ice dragon roared at Maxu Newt, who attacked it, and then a dragon's breath spewed out from its mouth. Matthew Newt had been on guard against this move for a long time, and when he saw it opened its mouth, it was ready to hide, so the little ice flood dragon breathed out directly. Matthew Newt also knew that Su Yuntao couldn't delay for too long and had to make a quick decision, so he didn't remember the consumption of soul power. And it was another 4th soul skill. If Zyro was not injured, then with his powerful blood, even though he was only a century-old soul beast, he might not be able to wrestle with Masu Nuo. Even if he was suppressed, at least his life would not be a problem. But unfortunately, there were no ifs. Several bone-deep scars on its neck were stimulating its nerves all the time, and the blue blood dripping from the dragon made a tick-tock sound on the water. The white mist was constantly sprayed out from the two nostrils, and it couldn't hold it anymore. However, Masunuo didn't mean to let it go, and dropped his claws again, adding a few scars to the body of the already scarred dragon. The little ice dragon roared resentfully and could no longer stabilize his figure, fell down in the air. Seeing this, Masunuo quickly flew forward to catch the still-breathing little ice dragon and brought it to the shore, and then greeted Yin Hao. "Little Yin Hao, hurry up, brother Su Yuntao can't last long, we must hurry up." After saying that, he took out a knife from his storage soul guide and handed it to Yin Hao. Yin Hao took the knife, glanced at the little ice dragon that fell on the ground and stabbed it in the neck without any hesitation. The neatness of the technique stunned Matsuno, but now is not the time to ask this. After Yin Hao finished solving the little ice dragon, a yellow halo slowly formed on it. Matsuno hurriedly spoke, "Quick kid, summon your martial spirit and absorb this spirit ring." "Ah," Yin Hao nodded, and the blue-silver emperor instantly appeared in his hands. Pulled by Yin Hao, the yellow circle of light began to drift towards where Yin Hao was. Seeing this, Yin Hao quickly sat cross-legged, closed his eyes and absorbed the soul ring. The 400-year soul ring has no soul vibration, and it has not exceeded Yin Hao's absorption limit, so it is not too much effort to absorb it. On the other hand, Masunuo looked around nervously and kept vigilant all the time. Whenever he found any signs of the ice dragon returning, he would immediately interrupt Yin Hao's absorption of the soul ring and take him away. At most, Yin Hao will suffer some mental damage, and he can be raised after a while. But if the big ice dragon sees Yin Hao absorbing the soul ring of his child, then what awaits them will be the ice dragon from the Xuantan that is more than 2,000 years old. Of anger. Fortunately, Yin Hao had already absorbed it in less than half an hour, and Matsunuo also showed a relaxed smile when he saw this. "My child, you have finished absorbing the soul ring." Yin Hao smiled and nodded. At this time, he seemed to feel a cold feeling coming from his chest. Just when he was about to reach out and touch it, he heard a roar not far away. Hearing this voice, Masunuo's face changed greatly, and before he could continue talking to Yin Hao, he pulled him and ran towards the other direction where the voice came from at his fastest speed. As soon as the two of them left, the Xuantan ice dragon came back. It still doesn't know what method that weak human being used to make it lose its mind and chase him desperately. By the time it reacted, it had already left the cold pool for thousands of meters, but just when he was about to catch that nasty human being, he didn't know what method he used and suddenly became very disgusting. Xuantan the ice dragon was also disgusted, and it didn't care about the human. It turned around and flew towards its home. But when he returned home, he found that his child had turned into a corpse. The Xuantan ice dragon's eyes instantly turned red, and it let out a long howl soaring into the sky. Roar! This sound was heard in a radius of tens of kilometers, and the three of Yin Hao who had already escaped from the hunting soul forest naturally heard it too, but he doesn't care. He never thinks that he is a good person. In this world of the jungle, if he doesn't strengthen himself as soon as possible, he will only be eaten by others in the end. So, I can only blame you for being unlucky. Chapter 16 Blue-Silver Mysterious Ice Spike. Yin Hao and Masunuo went to the entrance of the soul hunting forest as agreed, and they saw Su Yuntao there who had been waiting for a long time. At this time, he was completely different from when he was shivering behind the big tree before. Although he was even more embarrassed, he held his head high and his chest up, and his whole person was amazing. Indeed, Su Yuntao was in a good mood at this time. This year, no, he has blown up a lot in the past 10 years. He fought the Xuantan ice dragon with a cultivation base of more than 2,000 years for more than 20 rounds, and then retreated completely. Just ask how many soul kings can do it, not to mention that he is still just a little big soul master at this time. Seeing Yin Hao and Masunuo coming back, Su Yuntao glanced at them and then walked up with his head held high. "How is it? The plan is going well, right? I relied on my keen observation skills and vigorous agility to fight the Xuantan ice dragon for hundreds of rounds, helping you to win the time to the limit. If you don't succeed, it will be unreasonable." Hearing Su Yuntao bragging in a serious manner, Masunuo just rolled his eyes and ignored him. And Yin Hao replied very seriously, "Thank you, brother Su Yuntao, this time. Everything is going well with us." Hearing Yin Hao's words of thanks, Su Yuntao was too embarrassed to brag anymore, so he stroked his hair with a little embarrassment and said, "It's all trivial. I just hope you don't forget about me when you get rich." In fact, Su Yuntao just said that casually, and he didn't think that Yin Hao would achieve much with a blue-silver grass and a crippled martial soul. However, he never expected that the future development was far beyond his expectation, and it was precisely because of these 2 days that he made a great contribution to his future development. Of course, that is all for later. Masunuo looked at Yin Hao and said, "By the way, little Yin Hao, what is your first soul skill?" Yin Hao spoke after thinking for a while. My first soul skill is called Blue-Silver Profound Ice Spike, which can turn blue-silver grass into an ice cone and stab the enemy. Although it loses its toughness, it has gained great lethality. Moreover, when needed, the blue-silver grass ice cone can be stabbed at the enemy. It can be picked up and used as a melee weapon, or fired as a long-range weapon. Matthew nodded upon hearing that. Sounds good. On the contrary, Su Yuntao looked at Yin Hao with some envy. A blue-silver grass Wuhan can also acquire such a powerful soul skill. No, it must just sound powerful, and it is useless in actual combat. Su Yuntao comforted himself twice before he felt better. At this time, Yin Hao suddenly remembered the icy feeling on his left chest when he had just absorbed the soul ring, and reached out his hand to feel it inside his clothes. This is a dragon scale. The 4 words attached to the soul bone suddenly appeared in Yin Hao's mind, and he hurriedly called the system. System, open the properties panel. The system panel is open. Host, Yin Hao Martial Spirit, the first Martial Spirit. Blue Silver Emperor second Martial Soul, sharing in single Gaoyu Soul Power, level Soul Ring, the first Martial Soul, Huang 400 years, second Martial Soul, Nun Soul Bone, external Soul Bone Ice Dragon Armor can grow Bloodline, Blue Silver Emperor Bloodline 37% awakened assets, liabilities Golden Soul Coin 5,500, it's really an external Spirit Bone. Yin Hao was all excited, but Yin Hao, who returned to reality, had another question. This Ice Dragon Armor. Why is it so small? Just covered the left side of my chest to protect my heart. No, it can move. Yin Hao used his mental power to control the Ice Dragon armor to move away from his left chest and slowly moved it to his left arm. Then Yin Hao retracted his hand into his sleeve, let the Ice Dragon armor cover his hand again, and then removed it from his hand. It slowly stretched until it left Yin Hao's body and turned into a Dagon Ice one. Although it is still relatively small and cannot play a big role for the time being, the external spirit bone can grow. Sooner or later, it will grow to become a real suit of armor. Since Yin Hao's whole process was carried out inside his clothes, Su Yuntao and Matthew Nuo looked dumbfounded. The child put his arms into his clothes for a while to fumble around, and then retracted his hands into his sleeves to fiddle with. It couldn't be because he was overjoyed because he absorbed a century-old soul ring. Was he stupid? Su Yuntao and Matthew Nuo looked at each other, and they already understood the meaning of the other party just from their eyes. Yin Hao also remembered that there were people around him, so he quickly stretched out his hand and laughed twice. I don't know what's going on. I suddenly felt itchy just now. I scratched it, hee. Hearing this, Su Yuntao and Matthew Nuo nodded. As long as you are not stupid, don't think that the rightful owner who has just been busy for a long time and took great risks to help obtain the soul ring turns around and turns into a fool. That is called stupid. After leaving hunting Soul Forest, Yin Hao, Su Yuntao and Matthew Nuo went back to the Wuhan branch hall in a carriage. As for the driver, well, everyone knows the same sentence. As soon as he returned to the Wuhan hall, Su Yuntao, who was a senior dog licker, ran non-stop to find the goddess, while Matthew took Yin Hao to register. Another release of the martial soul, another check of the soul power. After a lot of tossing, the registration is finally completed. Then Matthew Nuo took a gold soul coin and handed it to Yin Hao and instructed. Son, this is a subsidy from the Spirit Hall. You can come to receive a gold soul coin every month from now on. Don't forget it. If you forget it, it will be gone. In addition, after your soul power reaches level 20 and you get a soul ring, that is when you reach the level of a great soul master, you can receive 10 gold soul coins every month, so go back and practice hard. Ah, Yin Hao nodded. Then I'll go back to the academy first. See you, Grandpa Matsuno. Okay, little Yin Hao, goodbye. Coincidentally, just when Yin Hao returned to the academy, he happened to meet Tang San and Yu Zairogang, who had also rushed back from outside. However, the current situation of the two is not very good. Both of them are in rags and look very embarrassed, especially the master, who has small blood holes on his body, lying unconscious on the small cart. His lips are slightly tingling. Zai was obviously poisoned. Seeing the appearance of the two of them, Yin Hao turned pale with shock and asked with a concerned face, Little San, what's going on with you and master? Seeing Yin Hao's anxious look, Tang San was very moved. Sure enough, Brother Hao still cares about me so much. After being touched, he said with an ugly face, the teacher originally took me to look for a soul ring in the hunting soul forest, but I ran into a 400-year-old mandala snake. 400 years. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Isn't there a master here? Yin Hao asked with some doubts. After all, he now doesn't know the real strength of the master, and thought the master's strength was unfathomable. Sure enough, the corner of Tang San's mouth twitched after hearing Yin Hao's question. He didn't expect that this teacher was only good at his mouth, but in a real fight he could only fart, and he could only fart 3 times. Chapter 17, Trading Tang San Yu Zairogang. Tang San's face looked a little ugly, and he thought for a moment before speaking. The teacher's strength is not strong. Yin Hao was a little surprised, but still nodded. Well, I thought Grandmaster was very powerful. The corners of Tang San's mouth twitched even more. He now wondered if his mind was broken at that time. Why would he choose to worship him as a teacher? But since he is already worshipped as a teacher, he will never regret it if he is a teacher for a day and a father for life. Although the 400-year-old mandala snake was strong, the teacher and I still killed it after a fight. Actually, it was basically Tang San who killed it alone, but it was just to make Yu Zairogang look good. A little. And its soul ring was very suitable for me, so I absorbed its soul ring. However, just after I absorbed the soul ring, I heard a sound that was very similar to a dragon's roar, and then the snake's soul in the forest, the beast went crazy and attacked everyone it saw. The teacher was also bitten by several of the venomous snakes. However, all the medicine on my body was used up at that time, so I had to use my soul power to seal the teacher's acupuncture points to prevent the spread of the snake venom, and then I dragged him back to find the antidote. Not surprisingly, the dragon chant should be the voice of Xuantan Ice Flood Dragon. Yin Hao didn't expect that Tang San and Yu Zairogang would be fooled by him. Why, does he still want to laugh? After listening to Tang San's words, Yin Hao suddenly realized and quickly took out the medicine bought at the market yesterday from the bag behind him. Zairosan, I have medicine here, take it quickly. These 2 bottles are for treating external injuries. You need to treat the wounds first. These 2 bottles are for treating snake venom. Feed them to the master quickly. Tang San glanced at Yin Hao in shock, but remembering that he seemed to be going to get the spirit ring too, it was normal to prepare some medicine, so he didn't ask any more questions. After Tang San glanced at Yin Hao gratefully, he took a few bottles of medicine, first fed the medicine for treating snake venom to Yu Zairogang, and then received the 2 bottles of medicine for treating trauma into his 24 bridge in Moonlight Night. It is ready to go back and use it again. Congratulations to the host for trading 2 bottles of medicine to obtain Tang San's first spirit ring. The lifespan is 20 years. Do you want to receive it? Congratulations to the host for trading 2 bottles of medicine to obtain Yu Zairogang's second soul ring, which lasts for 20 years. Do you want to claim it? Hearing 2 voices in a row, Yin Hao just wanted to say, "It's great, cool, cool, cool." After Tang San chatted with Yin Hao for a few words, he pulled the cart and walked towards Yu Zairogang's dormitory step by step. The medicine Yin Hao gave to treat the snake venom can only slightly inhibit the snake venom. If you want to completely detoxify, you still need to prepare a special antidote. Back in the dormitory, Yin Hao looked around and found no one. Just when Yin Hao was wondering, the sound of 2 people talking came from the corridor. Those work-study students really overestimated themselves. They actually wanted to challenge Boss Zyro, who is in the 6th grade. It is estimated that it will be difficult to see work-study students in class tomorrow. You can't say that. The work-study students dare to challenge the bully of our college. It is said that the work-study students have a new first-year student. She is a little girl and she is very powerful. All the work-study students call her Miss Zyro Wu. This time it seems that she initiated it on her own initiative. This time their bets are high enough. If Boss Zyro wins, all the work students will be his pets in the future. If the work students win, the little one will sister dance is the little sister dance of our whole academy. These work-study students are definitely looking for death. No matter how good a first-year little girl is, she can go so far. Boss Zyro is one of the few 6th-year students in our college who has reached the realm of Soul Masters. It seems that Boss Zyro will have more Soul Masters in the future, a group of followers. Hearing this voice, Yin Hao also remembered. It seems that there is such a thing in the original plot. The location seems to be the back mountain, but the back mountain is not small. Going out the door, the 2 6th grade boys who were talking just now were walking around not far away, and Yin Hao called out, "Senior." The 2 boys turned their heads and saw Yin Hao at a glance. To be honest, since Yin Hao is both good-looking now, I dare not say that men and women can kill each other, but it is hard not to be born with a 6-year-old body and excellent looks. "Favor, what's wrong, Junior?" Yin Hao said. "I just heard from the senior about the fight with the work-study students. I don't know where it is. Why are you also interested? I want to go and have a look." One of the boys spoke up. "It's in the forest at the back of the mountain. It's easy to find. But I advise you not to go there, so as not to accidentally hurt you." Yin Hao thanked him and then ran towards the back mountain. Yin Hao arrived at Haoshan later than Tang San in the original book. Wang Sheng had already been injured by Liu Long and was being supported by several work-students. Seeing Yin Hao arriving, a smile instantly appeared on Zyro Wu's face. "Brother Hao, are you back?" The eyes of the others also brightened, and they cried out excitedly, "Boss!" Yin Hao smiled and nodded, and after saying hello to Zyro Wu, he walked up to Wang Sheng, stretched out his hand, and injected a green soul power into Wang Sheng's body. Talent, although it is far inferior to the effect of GX in Begonia, but it is still possible to treat minor injuries. With the injection of Yin Hao's soul power, Wang Sheng's brows, which were in pain and cold sweat, gradually relaxed. Although he didn't heal, he stopped the pain. There was a sound. "Boss." Yin Hao nodded and spoke. "You can rest nearby first, and I will take care of the rest." At this time, Zyro Wu also came to Yin Hao and spoke. "Brother Hao, just now that bastard Boss Zyro said he wanted me to be his pet rabbit and bullied us work students. You want to avenge us?" Zyro Wu said with an aggrieved face, as if she had been bullied a lot, but she didn't have any scars on her appearance, and her clothes were very neat, so she probably didn't even move her hands. Looking at Zyro Wu's expression of fearing that the world will not be chaotic, Yin Hao also gave her a blank look, but he still intends to take care of it. After all, if he doesn't care, let's not talk about what the work students will think. In the future, Zyro Chenyu and his group will trouble them again. Instead of continuing to trouble them, it's better to let them remember thoroughly today. Live by yourself. Ling Feng on the field was still clamoring. Hey boy, you are the boss of this group of work-study students, right? I didn't say you Wang Sheng, why did you go back and forth? You don't feel ashamed to recognize a 6 or 7-year-old kid as the boss. Hearing this, Wang Sheng was furious and was just about to stand up and go on stage to teach Ling Feng a lesson, but as soon as he exerted force, a sharp pain came from his chest, which made him frown again. Chapter 18 One Hit 6. When Yin Hao heard Ling Feng's provocative words, he didn't rush to refute. Instead, he slowly walked to the court and looked at the group of little brats in their 5th and 6th years across the field and spoke. Which of you is Zyro Chenyu? I want to have a word with him. As soon as this remark was made, before Zyro Chenyu outside the court could reply, Ling Feng on the court couldn't bear it anymore, pointed at Yin Hao and said, "Boy, you are worthy of finding our boss, you." Before he finished speaking, Yin Hao raised his hand, and a piece of cold blue-silver grass shot up from the ground. The sharp tip of the grass touched Ling Feng's neck. Although it did not penetrate into the flesh, Ling Feng felt a twinge of pain. In an instant, cold sweat broke out from Ling Feng's forehead. As the person involved, he could clearly feel the feeling brought by this blue-silver grass ice sword, a feeling close to death. Yin Hao didn't make things difficult for him and waved his hand again, and the blue-silver grass disappeared in an instant, and then he chuckled lightly and said, "It is not polite to interrupt others when they are talking. Please don't do it again next time. Then it's polite to point the ice sword at my throat." Ling Feng shouted loudly in his heart, but after all he didn't have the guts to shout out, so he nodded in panic, and then ran back to the crowd in a hurry. Zyro Chenyu in the crowd was also taken aback by Yin Hao's move. As the son of the Lord of Notting City, the education he received since he was a child was all about understanding the world, which is why he was able to be the boss of the 6th grade. He can bully Wang Sheng and the others because they have no power and average talents, so they don't have to worry about retaliation. But Yin Hao's move proved his strength. To be honest, if possible, Zyro Chenyu didn't want to offend Yin Hao. But luck is not a disaster, it's a disaster that can't be avoided after a little hesitation. Zyro Chenyu walked out, different from Ling Feng's arrogance. Even though he was stronger, he seemed a little friendly. "I don't know what the junior has to say to me." Zyro Wu in the back burst out laughing when she heard this name. Yin Hao was so arrogant when he didn't make a move. He mouthed a pet rabbit to himself. "It's time to start school. Boss Zyro, right. Originally, I thought that as a college student we should just get along peacefully." Zyro Chenyu's eyes lit up after hearing this, just because of Yin Hao's just showing he didn't want to fight him anymore, but because of his face he said it directly. It would be great if Yin Hao could take the initiative to bring it up. Still, he was disappointed. Just listen to Yin Hao continue to speak. "But you want my friend to be your pet first, and you want to hurt my little brother. I as their boss don't care. It seems inappropriate, so let's have a fight so we can avoid it." More students were injured. Zyro Chenyu frowned. He didn't want to fight, but he didn't want to give in, so how could he, Boss Zyro, fool around? Seemingly seeing his embarrassment, Yin Hao said considerately, "Well, you can find a few helpers and you can go together." Hearing Yin Hao's words, Zyro Chenyu's eyes lit up. As if he was afraid that Yin Hao would regret it, he quickly agreed. "Why bully the minority with more? This is called not taking advantage of the bastard. Besides, he proposed it himself. What does it have to do with me, Zyro Chenyu?" Then he shouted to the crowd behind him. "Ling Feng, Liu Long, Zhao Yan, Hu Jun, Kai Sheng, come here." Ling Feng originally didn't want to go up. What happened just now left a huge psychological shadow on him, but after considering that there were so many people on his side, he gritted his teeth and walked up. 5 people came to the field and stood in a row with Zyro Chenyu. Zyro Chenyu said in a low voice, "Be careful with your feet. Change positions immediately if you feel a slight movement. Don't be fooled by this kid." Ling Feng and the other 5 nodded, and then opened their posture to summon the martial soul and were ready to start. Seeing this, Wang Sheng and others behind Yin Hao wanted to go up to help, but they were stopped by Zyro Wu. Wang Sheng looked at Zyro Wu with some puzzlement. "Sister Zyro, why are you?" Zyro Wu smiled and shook her head. "You have to trust Brother Hao." Wang Sheng glanced nervously at the field, then reluctantly nodded. "Let's start." With Zyro Chenyu's order, a group of 6 people rushed towards Yin Hao in an instant. It has to be said that Zyro Chenyu's method was quite effective. After walking a few steps, the 6 of them felt strange movements one after another, and then they rolled and left the place, narrowly avoiding Yin Hao's flat. Yin Hao was not in a hurry when he saw this. He summoned the blue-silver emperor, and the first soul ring lit up instantly. The first soul skill, blue-silver mysterious ice spike. I saw countless blue-silver grass ice thorns growing around Yin Hao in an instant, and then split into countless small ice thorns in an instant. As Yin Hao waved his hand, countless small ice thorns were shot at Zyro Chenyu and the 6 others. When Zyro Chenyu and the 6 of them saw this, their ghosts instantly froze. Except for Zyro Chenyu, the other 5 were frightened and stood there dumbfounded. It was Zyro Chenyu who reacted instantly and shouted loudly, "Hurry up, come here, let's gather together and we'll pass if one of us blocks it." With a voice, the 5 people were awakened from their ignorance and they ran to Zyro Chenyu's side. According to his method, one of the 6 people stood in the front to block it, and the others stood behind that person. Immediately after, no one blocked a bit, change players, so that the 6 players can share the attack equally, and strive to minimize the damage received by everyone. This is indeed effective, but fortunately, Yin Hao didn't plan to kill him, so he didn't use his full strength. Although Zyro Chenyu and the 6 of them were all bruised and swollen after the one move, they didn't lose their fighting power and didn't even suffer much injuries. Seeing that they survived, Ling Feng and the others unconsciously showed a smile on their faces. At this moment, a sudden change occurred, and several blue-silver grass ice swords appeared from under the feet of several people in an instant. Zyro Chenyu rolled over quickly with quick eyes and hands, but was still scratched by the ice sword clothes, but the other 5 were not so lucky. What? Almost at the same time, the 5 people shouted together, and those who heard the voice were sad and wept. The 5 of them only felt a sharp pain coming from the Yugong gate behind them, and that feeling went straight to the sky. In just a split second, the 5 of them lost their fighting power and could only cover the place behind them, rolling on the ground non-stop. Anyway, it is estimated that Lami Tiangong will not have to work hard in the future. Wang Sheng and others behind Yin Hao did not see everything on the field clearly. They just saw that after Yin Hao sent out ice spikes all over the sky, Zyro Chenyu and others hurriedly resisted. After a few people resisted the attack, it became with the current situation. They thought it was Yin Hao's first soul skill that knocked down several people. Chapter 19, Blackmailing Zyro Chenyu. Wang Sheng sighed. Boss is worthy of being a boss. His first soul skill is so powerful that he defeated 5 people from Zyro Chenyu's side in an instant. At this time, a pony standing behind Wang Sheng said with some doubts, "But it's clear that the boss is firing ice spikes from the front, while Ling Feng and the other 5 covering their butts." Wang Sheng was stunned for a moment and then spoke. "What do you know? Maybe they tried to run away in a panic, and when they turned around they got hit in the ass by ice spikes." Ponyboy nodded in understanding and felt that it made sense, so he stopped asking any more questions. On the contrary, Zyro Wu standing at the front saw everything that happened on the field clearly, but instead of feeling nothing, she felt even more excited. "I will try it next time too." Turning his eyes back to the field, Zyro Chenyu, who had witnessed everything, also tightened his ass and swallowed unconsciously. "Learn, no. Brother, I'm convinced I won't fight. I apologize to your friend." But Yin Hao shook his head and didn't reply. Zyro Chenyu was about to cry and looked at Yin Hao pleadingly. "Boss, you will be my boss from now on. I have nothing to say about what you want me to do." Hearing this, Yin Hao nodded his head. "Wouldn't it be enough for you to say that earlier?" So he spoke. "My brothers were injured by your people, so I have to pay for some medical expenses." Zyro Chenyu glanced at Ling Feng and the others who were still lying on the ground crying, and then at Wang Sheng and the others behind Yin Hao who were watching lively and lively. The corners of his mouth twitched, but he didn't dare to refute, so he could only look said painfully. "Okay, boss, I'll take 100 gold soul coins and show them to your brothers to see if they're injured." This is the New Year's money he has saved since he was a child. This time, half of it is gone, but for the sake of my ass, I still endured it. Unexpectedly, Yin Hao shook his head after hearing this, summoned a blue-silver grass ice thorn and played with it in his hand. "Chenyu, it's difficult for me to deal with such a small amount of money." "If it's difficult, then don't do it," Zyro Chenyu roared in his heart, but when his words came to his mouth, he changed it again. "Boss is right, it's a little less, so I'll add another 100, okay? Counseling, is this cowardly? This is called from the heart." Unexpectedly, Yin Hao was still not satisfied, so he summoned another ice thorn and the 2 icicles knocked together to make a crisp click sound, appearing where he shouldn't be. "Boss, I'll add 105 elements. I really have no money now. I don't have a copper soul coin." "Really gone?" Yin Hao glanced at him slightly suspiciously. "It's gone." Zyro Chenyu was about to cry. When did he ever suffer this kind of grievance when he was so old? Not to mention being beaten. He even blackmailed his small coffers that he had saved for 11 years. Seeing that Zyro Chenyu really couldn't afford the money, Yin Hao nodded and took back the 2 ice thorns in his hand. "Wouldn't it be better to do this earlier? I said we are all from the same college, so we should get along well. As the saying goes, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is still mine. Come on, get up from the ground quickly. There are so many things on the ground, it's cold, don't freeze." Seeing Yin Hao changing his face as fast as in a Sichuan opera, Zyro Chenyu didn't react for a while, so he could only nodded stupidly, and then was helped up by Yin Hao. This was something he exchanged for a total of 350 gold soul coins of his entire worth. Come serve. In fact, Yin Hao didn't want to do this. Who would let himself be involved in a cheating system? He He was in debt before he started his career, and the huge interest rates were as high as loan sharks. In order to repay the debt, he had no choice but to aggrieve Ziro Chenyu. Time flies like an arrow, and in a blink of an eye, 1 year of college life is over. And Yin Hao kept sending warmth to Yu Xirogang and Tang San during this period of time, which not only made the two people's favorability towards Yin Hao continuously increase, but also gave Yin Hao a lot of favors. But let's talk about the soul ring. Tang San's 400-year soul ring has already been squeezed into 100 years by Yin Hao, but Yin Hao has no intention of continuing to squeeze it. After all, it will become a 10-year soul ring, and the yellow soul ring will turn white at that time. Soul ring, why? You can't turn an old hen into a duck in the blink of an eye, right? At that time, no matter how stupid Tang San was, he knew there was a problem. So Mao has to be squeezed little by little, and he can't be killed by the sheep all at once. That would be a bad dish. So Yin Hao decided to keep the lifespan of the soul ring he traded with Tang San, and wait for him to get it. The second soul ring is over. Let's continue to squeeze. As for Yu Xirogang, he is even worse. There are only 2 soul rings in total. The first soul ring has been balled by Yin Hao, and the second soul ring has been balled by Yin Hao from nearly 700 years to 400 years. However, although he felt that something was wrong, Duan did not have a soul guide that could check the age of the soul ring, and could only distinguish the soul ring by the color of the soul ring, so he did not notice what was wrong. It's not just the age of the soul ring. Tang San's blue-silver emperor bloodline was also traded by Yin Hao for another 4%, and now his bloodline concentration should only be left at about 8%, and although the level of soul power is improving, his cultivation 1/3 level will be traded by Yin Hao, although it is still improving, but the speed is very slow, but it is improving after all. Tang San didn't think there was anything wrong. On the other hand, Yu Xirogang actually brought 5% of the Golden Holy Dragon bloodline to Yin Hao. After some investigation by the system, it was found that he actually had more than 40% of the Golden Holy Dragon bloodline, which surprised Yin Hao. I remember there was a post in my previous life saying that Luo Sampa's mutation actually mutated in a good direction, and the specific direction of mutation was actually the Golden Holy Dragon, one of the top bloodlines of the Dragon clan. However, Yu Xirogang himself was too far gone and could not bear it. Unable to control the powerful bloodline of the Golden Holy Dragon, Luo Sampa turned into a guy who was no longer a pig or a dog. At the beginning, Yin Hao was still hesitating to absorb the bloodline of the Golden Holy Dragon in the trade. After all, if he absorbed it, he would definitely continue to dilute his human bloodline. Class, that would be the end of the calf. But just when Yin Hao was hesitating, the system gave a perfect solution. That is, he cannot absorb it himself, but put it in the system warehouse, and then integrate the Golden Holy Dragon blood with others when needed. Yin Hao thought for a moment and thought it was feasible. After all, Liu Erlong was also a dragon martial spirit. After he captured her, he could fuse her with the blood of the Golden Holy Dragon. That's right, this Bai has already begun to miss Liu Erlong, whom he has never met before. After all, who can refuse a big sister with a hot figure? Are you calling me sexy? Am I that kind of person? I'm just afraid of starving the kids. Chapter 20 Yin Hao's life experience. It was still the carriage that came here, but this time there was an extra Ziro Wu. Old Jack was sitting in front of the carriage and driving the carriage, while Tang San, Yin Hao, and Ziro Wu were sitting in the back. After more than a year of sleeping with her and feeding the best crystal radish, Ziro Wu is now very dependent on Yin Hao. As long as Yin Hao is not around, she will immediately become the little dance sister who is not afraid of anything. As soon as Yin Hao appeared, he immediately turned into an obedient rabbit who could be coquettish and cute, wagging his tail and waiting for Yin Hao to feed him. After all, which rabbit can resist the charm of the top-quality crystal radish? The key is that the person who feeds the radish looks so good-looking. Among the 3 people sitting in the back of the car, Tang San was cultivating non-stop. For some reason, the speed of cultivation is getting slower and slower now. In desperation, Tang San can only spend more time in cultivation than in the original book. Even so, the soul power is still not as high as in the original book. Tang San in the original book looks close to level 17, but Tang San in this life is only around level 14 and close to level 15, which is 2 levels lower than the original book. So now Tang San cultivates whenever he has time, even the blacksmith shop not going. Ziro Wu was sitting in the back of the car, nibbling on top-quality crystal radishes, and talking to old Jack, who was driving the car. It could be seen that old Jack probably liked Ziro Wu quite a lot. Yin Hao looked at the smiling old Jack with a smile. In his past life, this was the only person who made him feel the care of his elders. Only in front of him could Yin Hao completely let go of his guard. The carriage didn't drive very fast, but fortunately Notting City was not far from Holy Soul Village. In less than half a day, a group of 4 people had arrived at the entrance of Holy Soul Village. Tang San jumped out of the car and said, "Grandpa Jack, I'm going home to see my dad first. You don't have to worry about me." Just walk back by myself. Old Jack looked at Tang San under the carriage, seemed to want to say something, but after thinking about it, he swallowed the words back and then drove the carriage towards his home. After returning home, old Jack first unloaded the carriage from the horse, and after feeding the horse with fodder, he turned his head and said to Yin Hao, "Xiao Hao, you can play with Xiao first. Grandpa is going to cook. After sitting in the car for a long time, you must be hungry." Okay, then old Jack turned and went into the kitchen to cook, while Yin Hao took Xiao Wu to visit the Holy Soul village where he had lived for 6 years. "Brother Hao, why's your village so?" Holding the top-grade crystal radish, Xiao Wu spoke hesitantly, but stopped talking in the middle. Yin Hao took Xiao Wu's words and continued. "It's kind of broken, isn't it?" Xiao Wu nodded. "If it's broken, let's break it, do you know? It was the village chief of such a broken village who picked me up, an unrelated child, and raised him to such a big age." Xiao Wu was stunned for a moment. On the way here, she kept hearing Yin Hao call old Jack grandpa. She instinctively thought that old Jack was Yin Hao's biological grandfather, but she didn't expect that he wasn't. "Grandpa Jack is not your grandpa," Yin Hao smiled and shook his head. "I heard from Grandpa Jack that 6 years ago, several peerless powerhouses came to the vicinity of the Holy Soul village, and then a battle broke out. The aftermath of their battle was extremely strong, and it was simply not a place for ordinary people to bear. But I don't know why I survived, but I was the only one who survived. My parents didn't know where they were for a long time. I was the only child who was still a baby on a blank grass. At that time, Grandpa Jack I picked it up and took it back." "That's it," Xiao Wu said with some regret, as if she was really sad for Yin Hao's fate, and her 2 fluffy rabbit ears drooped. Although old Jack only said that a few peerless powerhouses came nearby, as a time-traveling party who has read the original book, he knows that it should be the battle that broke out among Tang Hao, Kai Zunji and others. Although Tang Hao at that time also wanted to protect himself, but his parents' enmity was irreconcilable, so naturally he had to avenge it. It's just that he is not strong enough now. Seeing Xiao Wu's appearance, Yin Hao smiled slightly. "But isn't it good to be here first? With Grandpa Jack and you here, I also have relatives." Hearing Yin Hao's words, Xiao Wu was stunned for a moment and then said in a voice that could only be heard by herself, "Dear, do I also count?" At this moment, a voice interrupted Xiao Wu, who was thinking wildly. "Xiao Hao, Xiao, it's time to eat." Old Jack was seen standing at the door, greeting the 2 of them with a kind face. Yin Hao looked at Xiao Wu next to him and said, "Let's go, Xiao Wu." Xiao Wu nodded, took 2 quick steps to catch up with Yin Hao, then held Yin Hao's hand with her small hand like white jade, and walked towards old Jack in unison. Yin Hao was stunned for a moment, and then took the initiative to hold Xiao Wu's hand, making the 2 of them hold hands. Seeing this scene, the smile on old Jack's face became even brighter. Although Yin Hao was just 7 years old now, he seemed to have seen his great-grandson waving to him. Sitting at the dining table, Yin Hao's favorite dishes were laid out on the table, as well as carrots specially made by old Jack for Xiao Wu. Old Jack was holding food for Yin Hao and the 2 of them, while saying something like, "I miss you, you were engaged when you were so old. The eldest son of Kainkun Dazhuang's family has just turned 13, and his grandson can talk," and so on. Yin Hao was very embarrassed to hear the words, but Xiao Wu looked very interested and asked old Jack 2 questions from time to time, which made old Jack even happier. When he was about to finish his meal, old Jack wiped his mouth, then looked at Yin Hao and Xiao Wu and said, "Xiao Hao, you eat with Xiao Wu first. Grandpa goes to clean up a room for Xiao Wu and then put the bedding on her to avoid freezing." Hearing this, Xiao Wu, who was eating vegetables with her head down, raised her head, with a few grains of rice hanging from the corner of her mouth, and asked suspiciously, "Why clean up the room? Wouldn't it be good if Brother Hao and I slept together? That's how we slept in school." In a word, Yin Hao, who was picking up vegetables, froze all of a sudden. He glanced at Xiao Wu in shock and closed his eyes somewhat annoyed. "It's over, I've taken Xiao Wu to waste after this year." Turning his head to look in the direction of old Jack, as expected, after hearing what Xiao Wu said, the smile on his face could no longer be stopped. Looking at Yin Hao, and then at Xiao Wu, who was still in doubt, old Jack felt that it's time to think about the name of your great-grandson. Blind Liu from Haokun is quite good at naming names. I'll ask him for advice tomorrow when I bring 2 fishes. Chapter 21. 4 years later, returning to Notting College from Holy Soul Village, Yin Hao resumed his boring life of helping Tang San and Yu Xiaogang during the day, and cultivating a relationship with Xiao Wu at night. But the debt still needs to be paid, and the money still needs to be paid. Yin Hao also wanted to go to the Soul Fighting Arena to play a game, but when he got there, he only took one look at Yin Hao and refused on the grounds that he was too young. Until one day, Yin Hao, who was a little restless, was walking on the street, and suddenly heard someone selling soul beast skins, soul beast meat, and even soul beasts, and the price was not low, especially soul beasts. 1 tiger-type soul beasts that are close to 1,000 years old can actually be worth 1,000 pieces of gold, and the supply is in short supply. This made Yin Hao, who was burdened with huge debts, refreshed all of a sudden. The 1,000-year-old soul beast was not easy to deal with, so wouldn't the 100-year soul beast be okay? First catch some 100-year-old soul beasts and sell them to pay off your debts, and then slowly increase the level of sharing in from the system mal. When you become stronger, you can catch high-level soul beasts and earn more money, then change to a high-level sharing in to improve your strength. When your strength rises, you can catch even higher-level soul beasts. Beneficial cycle, brothers. Yin Hao seemed to have seen countless gold soul coins placed in front of him. Just do what you say from now on. Besides, helping Tang San and Yu Zairogang during the day, Yin Hao has another job, which is to go to hunting soul forest to make money. Since then there has been a figure in the beast soul forest who specializes in hunting tiger-type spirit beasts, but since he knew that snake gallbladders were bought at a high price, he added snake-type spirit beasts to the hunting list. Of course, Yin Hao didn't kill all the soul beasts. He wouldn't go after the low-year soul beasts that were 200 years or more, mainly because they were not worth much and they didn't like them. In a blink of an eye, 4 years have passed, and Yin Hao has also come to the appearance of 11 years old. On the edge of a pool in the beast soul forest, a handsome boy with long blue hair surrounded by 2 purple light circles was stepping on a huge dragon with a blue body and a body length of more than 20 meters. Yin Hao usually would not reveal the 2 purple soul rings because he couldn't explain it. His first and second soul rings were originally yellow, but now they are purple. How can he explain it? Why don't you grab it and cut it into pieces? However, due to the existence of the camouflage skill that comes with the blue-silver domain, most people cannot see through the original color of Yin Hao's soul ring. And Yin Hao also specially spent gold soul coins to strengthen the camouflage skill. Now even Kaian Liu, I can't see through it anymore. Yin Hao lowered his head and glanced at Xuantan Bingjiao. After 4 years, whenever this guy felt his aura in the soul-hunting forest, he would call his younger brothers over to catch him. If it wasn't for Yin Hao's security system of blue-silver domain, he might have died times already. Yin Hao looked at the Xuantan ice jiao, which was bruised and unable to get up. He didn't care whether it could understand or not and spoke to it. You said you have caught me at least 100 times in the past 4 years, right? But in the end, I won. If you have any fault, it doesn't matter. The hatred of killing your son is irreconcilable. I can understand that you seek revenge from me, but it's a pity that you are not strong enough and I grow faster than you, so you still lose. Yin Hao laughed lightly, ignoring Xuantan Bingjiao's eyes full of resentment. Then, without being polite, he sat directly on the Xuantan Ice Dragon's armor, next to its big head, like a pair of friends he hadn't seen for a long time. If you don't look at the mess on the ground around the water pool and the body of the Xuantan Ice Dragon, of countless scars. I said, little Ice Dragon, why do you need to do it? Look at my first soul ring. This is your son's soul ring. It is a small ice dragon that has been cultivated for 400 years and has now become a 1,000-year soul ring. What does this mean? It means that I have power that the world has never controlled, and it is not necessarily impossible to become a god. After I become a god, I will resurrect your son. That is not impossible. Look at this situation now. Does it look good? Yin Hao said a lot, but the resentment in Xuantan Ice Dragon's eyes did not diminish at all. Even when Yin Hao deliberately placed the first soul ring in front of it, the resentment became even stronger. That's right, it's just a 2,000-year-old soul beast, and its intelligence hasn't been activated yet, so how can it understand human language? Besides, even if it understands, the murder of his son is a fact, and it will still kill Yin Hao without hesitation if given the chance. When Yin Hao saw this, he stopped talking nonsense with him and waved his right hand to summon a blue-silver grass ice thorn. This is the ability I gained after absorbing your son's soul ring. Letting you die under this ability is the last thing I can do for you. After saying that, Yin Hao no longer hesitated and raised his hand. The ice thorn stabbed straight down. Xuantan Bingjiao seemed to understand this sentence. A trace of nostalgia and relief flashed in his eyes. He closed his eyes and let the ice thorn pierce his throat. As the life force completely evaporated from the Xuantan Ice Dragon, a purple soul ring appeared in front of Yin Hao. Yin Hao sat cross-legged, ready to absorb this soul ring. The Xuantan Ice Flood Dragon is a powerful race that can rival 10,000-year soul beasts with a 1,000-year cultivation base. Yin Hao also spent tens of thousands of gold soul coins in exchange for hundreds of soul power bombs to seriously injure him before subduing him. Although the current Yin Hao has awakened the blood of the Blue-Silver Emperor, after all, without special physical strengthening, it is still a bit difficult to absorb such a soul ring comparable to a 10,000-year soul beast. After about half an hour, Yin Hao's forehead was covered with sweat, but fortunately there was no accident. Another half hour passed, and as he exhaled a breath of turbid air, Yin Hao opened his eyes and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. The third soul skill, Ice Dragon Art. Following Yin Hao's breath, countless cold blue and silver grass rose up from the ground and intertwined in the air. In just a second, a blue-silver grass ice dragon with a whole body blue and emitting a hint of cold appeared in the air, in front of you. Yin Hao waved his hand forward, and the ice dragon reacted immediately, opened its bloody mouth and let out a soundless roar, and then flew towards the direction Yin Hao pointed. Such an ice dragon with a length of several meters and its teeth and claws slammed into the woods in front of it. In an instant, several large trees with one person's arms were cut off by the middle, and white air was still emitting from the cut surface. Yin Hao nodded with a smile. He was very satisfied with this power. Clap, clap, clap. At this moment, a burst of applause came from behind Yin Hao. Yin Hao suddenly turned pale with shock and quickly turned his head to look. I saw a 17 or 18-year-old girl wearing white gold patterned clothes and short light brown hair standing not far behind him. And Yin Hao didn't notice her until she was so close to him. This is what surprised Yin Hao the most. How could she avoid the detection of my blue-silver domain and then quietly walk behind me? Yin Hao thought secretly. Looking at the girl's attire and age, Yin Hao reminded of a person, that is Hu Liena, one of the three beauties of the Wuhan temple in the original book. Yin Hao showed a friendly smile and said, "Who is sister? What do you want from me?" The girl touched her chin with her hand and looked like she was thinking. Just such a small action makes people feel an invisible charm from her body. If it was placed in ancient times, she would definitely be a fairy comparable to beauties such as Daji and Dairochan. Chapter 22. Hu Liena. The girl just thought for a moment before speaking. "My sister's name is Hu Liena. You may not have heard my name, but you should know Wuhandian, right? I am the saint of Wuhandian." It was indeed her, but she wasn't staying in Wuhan City, so why did she come to Fasnuo Province, traveling? It was time for Yin Hao to perform again, and Yin Hao opened his mouth slightly, looking surprised. My sister is the saint of Wuhan Palace. She's so powerful. No one doesn't like to be praised, even though countless people have said that to her since she was a child. Little brother, can you tell my sister what your name is? What is Wuhan? Yin Hao lowered his head and hesitated for a moment, looking like he was inexperienced in the world. Well. But my grandpa won't let me tell strangers my name. Hu Liena smiled suddenly, and two small pear dimples appeared on her cheeks, adding a touch of cuteness to the already charming face. It seems that he is a child with good talent and strength, but has no experience in the world. After thinking about it, Hu Liena spoke again. But sister just told you her name. Even if we know each other, then sister is certainly not a stranger, right? Yin Hao put his face in his hands and thought for a moment. Maybe he thought it made sense, so he nodded. In fact, he was frantically mobilizing his mental power to expand the scope of the blue-silver domain, but until the scope was expanded to a radius of 2 kilometers, he did not find the existence of other Wuhandian personnel. But even so, Yin Hao still didn't dare to take it lightly. Since he didn't know what she was here for, she might be an enemy, so he had to be on guard. After Hu Liena saw Yin Hao nodding, she felt that her deception had succeeded, and that she was a kid who was easy to deceive, so Hu Liena, the human trafficker, officially went online and continued. "Then since my sister is no longer a stranger, can my little brother tell my sister your name?" As a result, under Hu Liena's deception, Yin Hao, who was not experienced in the world, was successfully deceived and spoke. "Well, my name is Yin Hao. I am a 6th-year student at Notting College. My martial spirit is blue-silver grass." Hearing this, Hu Liena's eyes suddenly lit up, and she quickly took out a piece of paper from her arms, reading it and talking to herself. Long blue hair, the word Hao in the name, the Wuhan blue-silver grass, these all match, and the last one. So Hu Liena raised her head to look at Yin Hao again, showing a friendly smile. "Yin Hao, can you summon your martial soul and show it to my sister?" Yin Hao frowned slightly. What is this woman going to do? Is Hu Liena's curiosity so heavy in the original book? But he still nodded and summoned the blue-silver emperor. The moment she saw the blue-silver emperor, Hu Liena instantly became excited. "Golden stripes, the last one is also right. It's worthwhile for me to stay in this place that doesn't shit for more than 2 months." Yin Hao looked at the smiling Hu Liena, and suddenly remembered the expressions of those traffickers who saw the child alone in the previous life, which seemed to be very similar to the current Hu Liena. Then Yin Hao took a few steps back slowly and calmly, trying to retreat quietly without disturbing Hu Liena, but just 2 steps away, Hu Liena noticed. But she didn't care about this. She walked to Yin Hao's side in 2 steps, in 3 steps, and grabbed Yin Hao's hand. Children in Douluo Continent develop relatively fast, and so does Yin Hao, but at the age of 11 his height is close to 1.6 meters and close to 1.7 meters, but he is still a little shorter than Hu Liena, who is walking on high heels. "Brother Yin Hao, go with my sister, and my sister will take you to a good place." Yin Hao hurriedly shook off Hu Liena's hand. Although he likes beautiful women, he was still taking his own safety into consideration. Now that Hu Liena looks like a human trafficker, how could Yin Hao follow her? Perhaps realizing her gaffe, Hu Liena immediately adjusted her attitude and said in a gentle tone, "Brother Yin Hao, how about going with your sister? My sister won't harm you." While pretending to think, Yin Hao turned his hands behind his back to mobilize his soul power. If Hu Liena wanted to take him away by force, then he would act first. At this moment, Hu Liena seemed to have thought of something, took out a black box from the bracelet on her left hand, and spoke. "Brother Yin Hao, don't be afraid. This thing should prove that I won't harm you." Yin Hao first carefully observed the box, then took the box over where Hu Liena had just touched it and opened the lid without opening it. Then he glanced at Hu Liena suspiciously, wondering why she gave him a box that he couldn't open. Hu Liena was also stunned for a moment, and hurriedly took out the previous piece of paper, read it carefully again, and then said with a suddenly enlightened expression, "Brother Yin Hao, just put a drop of your blood on this box and it will open. Although I have some doubts, I don't seem to have the right to refuse now. Not to mention that Hu Liena's ability to escape the detection of her blue-silver field just now proves that she should not be able to handle it now." And as a saint of Wuhan Palace, coming to a place so far away from Wuhan City, Yin Hao wouldn't believe anything that there were no titled Douluo as protectors. Then, according to the method Hu Liena said, Yin Hao cut his finger with a small ice thorn and then dropped a drop of blood on the box. With a click, the box opened. Yin Hao looked inside the box. There was nothing but a small note. Hu Liena also looked over curiously, but she didn't move to remove the note. Yin Hao picked up the note, glanced at it, and immediately closed it again, provoking Hu Liena, who wanted to take a look together, a bit of resentment. Yin Hao looked at Hu Liena aside, his eyes no longer as childish as before. He thought a lot in just a few seconds. Among them was whether to use the sharing and to control Hu Liena and ask her where the note came from. After all, after 4 years of hard work, Yin Hao also successfully don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to Infinite Novel Audio. Redeemed the 3 Magatama blood wheel eyes in the system Mal, which cost him 100,000. Golden soul coin, more than half of my savings for 4 years was gone. However, this idea was suppressed by Yin Hao after only a moment. Not to mention that Hu Liena herself is a major in spiritual power, the length of control time and whether it will be successful or not. It is only after controlling her that she follows her. The protector will not make it easy for Yin Hao. In desperation, Yin Hao could only forcefully put on a smile and asked, "Sister Hu Liena, who gave you this box?" Chapter 23 Going to Wuhan City in desperation, Yin Hao could only forcefully put on a smile and asked, "Sister Hu Liena, who gave you this box?" Hu Liena just thought for a moment before speaking. "It was given by my teacher, the Pope." "Then do you know what the note inside said?" Upon hearing this, Hu Liena immediately became interested and looked at Yin Hao with her big eyes open and full of curiosity. "What did you write?" "It's written, asking you to marry me." Hu Liena was stunned for a moment, then her first reaction was that it was impossible, and her second reaction was that the teacher personally arranged for her to come here to find Yin Hao. It was not impossible. Seeing that Hu Liena really believed it, Yin Hao finally couldn't help laughing. Ha ha ha! Hearing Yin Hao's laughter, Hu Liena also realized that she was being cheated by Yin Hao. At that time she became a little annoyed, but before she could speak, Yin Hao spoke. "Miss Hu Liena, please be more judgmental in the future. Don't believe what others say, otherwise you will be deceived." Ha ha ha! Listening to Yin Hao's flamboyant and confident laughter, whereas there's still a hint of shyness and deceitfulness from before. At this time, no matter how stupid Hu Liena was, she realized that she had been played around by Yin Hao from the very beginning. Turning from embarrassment into anger, he looked at Yin Hao with an angry face. "Yin Hao." I saw Yin Hao's laughter was suppressed in an instant. He lowered his head slightly, and seemed to have regained his inexperienced appearance, and said cautiously, "Sister Hu Liena, what's wrong?" The polite and careful look was like a basin of cold water that extinguished Hu Liena's anger. She raised her arm and didn't know whether to strike or withdraw it. She still looks dumbfounded now. She doesn't know how Yin Hao, who was still laughing at her just now, turned into a shy little brother in a second. But before she could think about it, Yin Hao leaned forward again, looked into Hu Liena's eyes, and said seriously, "Look, I'll just say it, let you be more judgmental. Take a look at you, aren't you being cheated again?" Ha 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 ha. With that said, Yin Hao dodged and distanced himself from Hu Liena. What? When did Hu Liena, who had been accepted as a disciple by Bibi Dong since awakening her martial soul, ever suffer this kind of grievance? Who in Wuhan City didn't treat her with respect when they saw her? Even the elders of those titled Douluo didn't dare to stand up in front of her, who would play tricks on her like Yin Hao did. In the end, Yin Hao followed Hu Liena on the carriage to Wuhan City, and with Hu Liena, the titled Douluo also appeared after the two got on the carriage. One of them is Chrysanthemum Douluo Yueguan. After Yin Hao found out that it was Bibi Dong who asked Hu Liena to find him, he stopped hesitating and planned to go to Wuhan City to have a look. As for whether there will be danger, what kind of cultivation level does Yin Hao have? How powerful is the Wuhan Palace? If Pope Bibi Dong wants Yin Hao's life, is there any safe place in the entire Douluo continent? If that were the case, it wouldn't matter whether he went to Wuhan City or not. Of course, what really made Yin Hao determined to follow Hu Liena to Wuhan City was that note. There are no amazing secrets or shocking events on it, only 3 words, sharing and. This is Yin Hao's secret, and it is also a secret that he thinks no one else will know, but it appears in a box. How can Yin Hao not be shocked? Ju Douluo sat outside the carriage and drove, while Hu Liena and Yin Hao sat inside the carriage. Seeing Yin Hao sitting in front of her with closed eyes and resting his mind, Hu Liena looked him up and down curiously. It was this guy who was so badly sent by the teacher to stay in this place where no shit happened for 2 months, but why did the teacher ask him for it? Apart from being more attractive, having a higher spirit ring configuration, and having better talent, there seems to be nothing special about it, right? Have you seen enough? At some point, Yin Hao opened his eyes and was looking at himself. Liena coughed in embarrassment and quibbled. You don't care about heaven and earth, you don't care where I look. If you're afraid of others seeing, why not just buy a mask to cover your face? Yin Hao didn't argue with him, and now his mood is very complicated. During the past few days on the way to Wuhandian, he thought about countless possibilities. She even thought that Bibi Dong was also a time traveler, but she knew everything about herself, including the system, and guessed that there might be other time travelers around her who could predict everything, etc. But all of this had to wait until she met Bibi Dong. Get confirmed. Yin Hao said to Liena. How long until Wuhan City? Seeing that Yin Hao didn't choke her, Liena was a little surprised. She had often picked on Yin Hao for a few days, but Yin Hao choked her back without exception, but today was a surprise. After that, Liena opened the curtains on the window of the carriage and took a look outside, made a rough judgment of the place and then replied, Hurry up, if there are no accidents you should be able to arrive at noon today. Yin Hao nodded, then continued to close his eyes and rest. Liena didn't make fun of herself, so she stopped talking to Yin Hao. After about 2 or 3 hours, the sound of people talking gradually appeared outside the silence, and then more and more, including shouting, scolding and selling. Yin Hao opened his eyes, opened the curtain in front of the carriage. His eyes were filled with grey city walls and walked forward for a while. A tall red city gate appeared in Yin Hao's sight. The soldiers at the door stopped the carriage. Stop, what are you doing? Then an older soldier hurriedly rushed to the soldier, kicked him out, and then bowed slightly to Douluo. I'm sorry, sir, he is new here and doesn't know you. Douluo waved his hand. He was not stingy enough to argue with a soldier standing guard, and then continued to drive towards the city. Wuhan Hall, inside the Pope's hall. A peerless beauty wearing a crown and purple clothes was sitting on a high throne and processing the copywriting on the table. At this moment, a soldier walked in from the door of the Pope's palace, and first saluted Bibi Dong. Your Majesty, the Holy Lady has returned. After hearing this, Bibi Dong finally stopped reviewing the copy, put down the copy in her hand, raised her head and said, Did she come back by herself? No, the Holy Maiden also brought a young man with long blue hair. A smile finally appeared on Bibi Dong's ice-cold face, and the excitement could hardly be concealed on her beautiful cheeks. Quick, let them in. Yes. The soldiers retreated after receiving the order, while Bibi Dong sat on the Pope's throne and showed joy. Chapter 24. Another black box. After the soldiers exited, a short while later, a girl with short brown hair and a boy with long blue hair walked into the Pope's palace. After seeing Bibi Dong, Liena saluted first. Meet the teacher. Yin Hao is not a person who doesn't know etiquette. Besides, this is still on someone else's territory, so if you are timid, just be timid. So he bent down and saluted. I have seen His Majesty the Pope. The moment she saw Yin Hao, Bibi Dong frowned at first, and then looked around blankly as if he was hesitant to speak. Her red and small mouth opened slightly, seemingly in disbelief. Liena and Yin Hao, who were standing below, looked at me and I looked at you, their faces confused. Didn't the soldier just say that the Pope was very excited when he got the news that the 2 people had arrived in Wuhan City? What is the situation now? Although they were curious, neither of them asked, they just stood quietly without speaking or leaving. After about 4 or 5 minutes, Bibi Dong finally recovered, looked at Yin Hao, her voice trembling slightly. Your father, is he okay? One sentence confused Yin Hao. My father. Who is my father? Why didn't I know? Does Bibi Dong know about my father? Didn't he die in the aftermath of the battle between Tang Hao and Qian Zunji 11 years ago? Could it be that he is a hidden strong man? One guess after another came to Yin Hao's mind, but now is not the time to think about it. Yin Hao raised his head and said, Back to the Pope. I have never seen my parents since I was born. I was picked up and brought up by the head of a small village. If the Pope knows about him, please tell me. Hearing Yin Hao's answer, Bibi Dong was a little surprised and looked in the direction of Liena. Nana, couldn't he open the box I gave you? Liena responded immediately. Teacher, I watched him open it with my own eyes. I used the method taught by the teacher. The moment Yin Hao dripped blood on the box, the originally tightly closed box opened automatically. Bibi Dong nodded, already having a guess in her heart, and looked at Yin Hao's position again. Then since your father doesn't want you to know about him, there must be his reasons. In this case, as his friend, I can't spoil his affairs, right? So I can't tell you about your father. Matter, as his friend. Liena looked at Yin Hao in shock. His father was actually a friend of the teacher. Yin Hao was also very surprised. Hearing this, Bibi Dong knew my cheap dad, and they seem to have a good relationship. People have already talked about this, and Yin Hao didn't want to stalk him, so he nodded his head to show that he agreed with Bibi Dong's words. Bibi Dong continued. I promised your father one thing back then, and that was to accept you as a disciple. I wonder if you would like it. When Yin Hao heard that there was such a good thing, without even hesitating, he agreed directly. Bibi Dong nodded and took out 2 things from the ring in her hand, a ring and the same black box as before. This ring is a storage soul tool. It has a storage space of cubic meters which can hold living things. It can be regarded as a gift from the teacher to you. This black box, you have seen one before. It was left to you by your father. Open it. The method is still the same as the previous one. You take it. Bibi Dong glanced at the black box again with a hint of reluctance in her eyes, but she still sent it to Yin Hao with her soul power. Yin Hao picked up the storage ring, put it on his hand, and infiltrated his spiritual power into it. Sure enough, as Bibi Dong said, a large space of 24 cubic meters, plus it can accommodate living things, is comparable to that given by Yu Zairogang. Tang San's Shilaozi, bright moonlit bridges, is much stronger. Before Yin Hao could say a word of thanks, Bibi Dong gently squeezed her forehead with her fingertips, waved her hands to Yin Hao and said, "If there's nothing else, go down first, Nana, and go arrange a house for Zairo Hao." Huliena quickly agreed, "Yes, teacher." Since everyone said that, Yin Hao had no intention of staying any longer, and after greeting Bibi Dong, he followed Huliena and left. After the two of them left, Bibi Dong couldn't hold back anymore. There was unconcealable sadness on her beautiful face. She bit her lower lip lightly with her upper teeth, and a line of clear tears flowed from the corner of her eyes. Why are you doing this to me?" After walking out of the Pope's palace, Huliena arranged for someone to arrange a house for Yin Hao, and specially told him to arrange it next to her yard. Huliena looked at Yin Hao, who was beside her, and yelled, "Hey, I don't call you." Huliena rolled her eyes and started choking on herself again. "Okay, Yin Hao." "No." Junior brother Tilda, hearing this address, Yin Hao's face darkened, but he didn't refute. On the contrary, Huliena couldn't help laughing to herself after she finished yelling, as if it was such a joy to make Yin Hao suffer. Seeing Huliena laughing endlessly, Yin Hao interrupted her directly. "Is there a problem?" However, Huliena didn't seem to want to let Yin Hao go. She withdrew her smile and looked at Yin Hao seriously. "Junior brother, you have to remember to be polite when talking to senior sister. You can't just ask senior sister what's the matter. You should say, senior sister, what's the matter?" Seeing Huliena getting up endlessly, Yin Hao turned around and left without talking nonsense to her. For a woman like Huliena, who is so proud to the core, the more humble you are, the less she will look down on her for details. Please refer to the golden big licking dog Yan. If you treat her coldly, it will arouse her curiosity even more. Seeing that Yin Hao was about to leave, Huliena quickly grabbed Yin Hao. "Okay, can't I just stop talking? But I am your senior sister after all. Can't you show some basic respect?" "Oh, respect." The corners of Yin Hao's mouth rose slightly. "Okay, when I was apprenticed to the teacher before, the teacher gave me a change of mouth fee. A storage ring of 20 cubic meters would cost. Gold soul coins, right? If you want me to change my words, you have to show some sincerity, right? 20 yuan will be waived. You can't afford it, so just use yuan to deal with it." 100,000, Huliena exclaimed. "Why don't you go grab it?" Unexpectedly, when Yin Hao heard this, instead of feeling ashamed, he looked at Huliena with confusion. "Robbing, is it much more profitable to rob?" Huliena was at a loss for words for a while indeed. The kitchen knives that usually rob are smoking, and they can't grab gold soul coins. It is indeed not as good as this way. Chapter 25, Kaleidoscope Writing Wheel Eyes. Huliena saw that it was too hard, so she decided to be soft. Immediately, she quickly walked to Yin Hao's side, and hugged his left arm tightly until the whole arm fell into softness. "Junior brother Tilda, just call me senior sister Tilda." Under the indiscriminate bombardment of Huliena's sugar-coated shells, Yin Hao gave in after trying to hold on for a minute, and called Huliena a senior sister without emotion. But even so, it made Huliena's smile even bigger. "By the way, sister, did the teacher tell you about my father?" After learning the news about his father from Bibi Dong, Yin Hao couldn't sit still. He once thought that his father had died long ago, so he naturally didn't care. But now Bibi Dong actually tells himself that he is still alive, and from the fact that he and Bibi Dong can become friends, it can be inferred that he is a super strong person. Except for Yu Zairogang, who Huliena thought for a moment but still shook her head. Yin Hao was a little disappointed, but the days to come were still long, and he was not in a hurry. But what made him very curious was how his father knew that he had sharing and many more. Just when Yin Hao was not about to continue asking, Huliena suddenly stopped Yin Hao again. "I remember that I accidentally heard some gossip, which may be related to your father." "Gossip? What gossip?" Seeing that there was still drama, Yin Hao looked at Huliena again. Huliena knew Yin Hao's urgency, so she didn't pretend to be close and said straight to the point. "I once heard that a man wearing a ghost mask covering the upper half of his face once fell in love with a teacher, but I don't know why that man suddenly disappeared one day." Yin Hao was a little disappointed. It was indeed hearsay. This was too ridiculous, so he spoke directly. "Then what does this have to do with me?" "It does matter. The man wearing the ghost face mask has long blue hair just like you." Seeing Huliena's serious face, Yin Hao was immediately so cute by her. It was the first time Yin Hao heard that finding someone in the vast sea of people depends on hair color, and his hair color only came after he awakened the blood of the blue-silver emperor. Become has nothing to do with his father. Afterwards, Yin Hao couldn't help but laugh outright. It doesn't matter if you laugh, but it made Huliena pissed off instantly. I'll help you find Lao Tzu. If you don't thank me, it's fine, you still dare to laugh at me. So he snorted coldly and was about to say something to mock Yin Hao. I don't think so. After all, his martial soul is not a waste martial soul like blue silver grass. His real martial soul is a powerful blue giant. Hearing this, Yin Hao's smile froze on his face, and he quickly turned his face to look at Hu Liena. What did you say? Say it again. Looking at Yin Hao with a worried face, Hu Liena also felt a little bit guilty in her heart. Can't her mental endurance be so bad? Didn't I mean that his martial soul is a useless martial soul? Why are you in a hurry? Okay, I made a mistake. I won't say it, okay. Seeing that Hu Liena misunderstood, Yin Hao quickly changed his tone and explained. No, senior sister, you misunderstood. I want to ask what the martial soul of the person you just mentioned is. Like, Hu Liena thought for a moment. I don't know exactly what it looks like. I just heard that it is a blue translucent giant tens of meters high. Susanoo, Yin Hao read silently. Hu Liena didn't hear clearly and then asked, what did you say? But Yin Hao didn't answer her, but shook his head with a smile on his face. Thank you, senior sister. I'll treat you to dinner another day. My yard should be almost ready, so I'll go back first. After speaking, regardless of Hu Liena's reaction, she turned around and left. When he came to the yard that Hu Liena had arranged for him, Yin Hao had mixed feelings. Who is that? If it's really my father, how do you explain the long blue hair? But if not, how do you explain the sharingen? Yin Hao couldn't figure it out for a while, so he simply didn't think about it. Taking out the small black box left by his father from the storage ring, Yin Hao pricked his finger with a small ice thorn and dripped a drop of blood on it in the same way. With a click, the box opened. Yin Hao looked inside curiously. This is. With just one glance, the shock on Yin Hao's face could not be hidden, and then the shock immediately turned into joy, and a smile appeared on Yin Hao's face. In the black box between them, a small bottle containing a special liquid is placed inside, while a pair of red eyes with a pinwheel pattern in the middle are soaked in the liquid. Kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. System, come out quickly and explain to me what's going on now. Insufficient system permissions, unable to explain. Yin Hao picked up the Manjikayo sharingen. At this moment, the Manjikayo, the little fox's words, and Bibi Dong's demeanor gave Yin Hao a vague guess, but he was not sure. System, please help me integrate. Okay. In the next second, the pair of kaleidoscopes in Yin Hao's hands disappeared instantly, and in Yin Hao's eyes, a pair of three curved jade sharing eyes appeared instantly. With a sharp pain coming from his eyes, Yin Hao frowned unconsciously. However, I have already had the experience of fusing Ergayu and Sangayu to write sharing eyes before, so I don't feel too nervous about the fusion this time. However, as the pain increased, Yin Hao had to close his eyes tightly in order to reduce the pain. The pain became stronger and stronger, several times worse than when the 3Gu jade was fused before. Yin Hao clenched his teeth, and beads of sweat dripped from his forehead. Fortunately, the pain only lasted for half a minute. After the pain passed, two black soul rings instantly appeared beside Yin Hao. Yin Hao opened his eyes, glanced at the two 10,000-year spirit rings beside him, was stunned for a moment, and hurriedly asked the system, System, where did these two 10,000-year spirit rings come from? Because sharingen is not a product of this world, so in order not to be rejected by the power of the world's rules, the two abilities of sharingen in Kaleidoscope will be automatically transformed into the soul skills of two 10,000-year spirit rings. Ang, that's it. Then let's test the ability of my Kaleidoscope first. Yin Hao stood up, opened his eyes, and a pair of three-hooked jade appeared in his eyes, and then the three-hooked jades began to rotate slowly, connecting their tails and finally formed a windmill shape. Divine power, with Yin Hao's breath, the space in front of him distorted instantly, and a table not far away was directly torn into pieces by the force of the distorted space. That's it for today's chapter. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, and subscribe to Infinite Novel Audio. For more stories, check out my other channel AI Otaku Studio, and I'll see you in the next chapter.